This is your chance to learn Tableau for free, from scratch to dashboards with Nishant Aneja. Welcome to Newton School's complete Tableau Bootcamp, a beginner-friendly guide that takes you from the very basics of Tableau and makes you job-ready in just one session. Whether you're a student, aspiring analyst, or looking to upgrade your career with data, this video is made for you. And don't just watch. Practice everything you learn on Newton School Launchpad. The link is right there in the description. Get ready to dive in. Grab your dataset, open Tableau, and let's begin with Nishant.
So hi everyone, this is Dhananjay and I welcome you all to this pretty new and exciting SQL lecture series brought to you by none other than Newton School. And I'm very excited about it because two reasons are there. First is, ये मेरा पहला publicly available lecture होगा जो कि YouTube पे रहेगा and you guys will be my audience, so I would love to see you giving me feedbacks and I hope that you guys stick around with me from the beginning till the end of this course so that you can make most out of it. The second reason is, basically when I was going through the outline of this course, I realized that this course is so well structured and well organized that अगर आप कोई beginner हो और आपको बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं आता हो and still you are aspiring to become or get into these database roles, I can guarantee you that by the end of these series, you will be able to solve 99.9% of the questions which are getting asked in SQL interview rounds. Yes, you heard it right, 99.9% of the questions. इतने तो डेटा गिटानो भी नहीं मारता है जितने क्वेश्चंस आप सॉल्व कर सकते हैं और इसकी गारंटी लेता हूं मैं. इफ यू आर इन इंटरमीडिएट, ये कोर्स आपको तभी भी अच्छा लगेगा क्योंकि आप इसको एज अ रिफ्रेशर यूज कर सकते हैं. आप किसी भी कंसेप्ट वाले वीडियो पे जाके उसके कंसेप्ट रिवाइज कर सकते हैं इफ यू आर लुकिंग फॉर अ स्विच. एंड इफ यू आर एन एक्सपर्ट ऑलरेडी, इफ यू नो एवरीथिंग ऑफ द एसक्यूएल, देन यार आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं? आप जाके इंडियाज गॉट लेटेंट आई मीन शार्क टैंक देखिए, फंडिंग वंडिंग देखिए कैसे करते हैं, पिच विच, और एक स्टार्टअप खोल के बैठ जाइए, या फिर आप एक पॉपकॉर्न का पैकेट ले आइए और आराम से देखिए, एंजॉय करिए इस वीडियो को.
Hi everyone, this is Nishant Aneja. Having worked 6 years plus experience in the industry, I can say that Tableau is one of the most important tools that one needs to know in today's job environment. As discussed in the course introduction, this course will be very detailed. So with that, let's begin. If you see my screen right now, we are on a PPT called Introduction to Tableau. In this, the agenda is why use Tableau, what is Tableau, how to get started with Tableau, where we will download Tableau Public from the Tableau's official website. Then we'll understand its interface. So Tableau has a beautiful graphical user interface that you can just use it with your mouse and just your touchpad. You don't need to have any coding knowledge whatsoever. It's a very user intuitive tool, I must say. Then we'll learn how to load data in Tableau. Since it's a Tableau public version, you won't have any server access. You will load CSV files, Microsoft Excel files, and those are those are enough for your basic skills, basic learnings, and to prepare for even advanced skills. Then we'll learn what is the difference between data blending and data joining. We'll learn data transformation in Tableau. And at the end of the agenda, we'll discuss the most common question popping up in every analyst's mind. What is the difference between Power BI and Tableau? These two tools, own the market right now. You need to know how is Tableau different than Power BI and how is Power BI different than Tableau, right? So with that, let's move to the next slide. First question, why use Tableau? Why is Tableau relevant in this market scenario right now? It is a very intuitive tool which makes you understand the data with ease. Let me just put it simply. And if you see with the screenshots on your screen, there is a Myntra dashboard that you can see many KPI metrics. If you zoom into your video, you'll see that. This helps high CXOs make decisions with data points in front of their eyes day by day. The dashboard refreshes with a frequency of, let's say, day, week, or month. So it is very important for leaders in the organizations to know what's happening on the ground, and data tells that story. But data, if you present it in a spreadsheet format, as in the first screenshot you see, it won't help, right? You need to show it in a visual format that clicks something in your brain and you get the analysis spot on. That's where Tableau comes in. It's a business intelligence tool that gives you beautiful visualizations and turns a simple spreadsheet into a beautiful dashboard. So, point number one, it helps you understand data with ease. Point number two is preferred by top leaders, like mentioned, CXOs, CEOs, COOs, CFOs. They crunch the data, they see the data in front of their eyes, and then they take a decision. These dashboards are very informative. As you can see on your screen, the dashboard right now we have for Lovelytics. It gives you a lot of information to digest, and you can spend 5-10 minutes on this dashboard alone to grasp what is going on in the market, how to move forward, and how to take a decision in the current landscape. And of course, a tool cannot be successful if it's not adopted by big tech giants. Some of the names here you can see. Big tech giants heavily rely on Tableau for their day-to-day data, day-to-day KPI digestion, so that they can take decisions that help their industries grow, their firms grow, and in the end, the industry grow, right? So we have covered why use Tableau, but what is Tableau? You need to know what is Tableau before moving ahead and learning that tool. So what is Tableau? Tableau is a leading data visualization and BI tool used for reporting and analyzing vast volumes of data. Now, you might have worked with some tool in your history. If yes, then good. If not, then good as well. Tableau is good with vast volumes of data. Some tools have a limitation with X number of rows or X number of columns. Tableau can cover a large data set of data, and you can filter the data as per your need. So there are various filters you can apply, which we'll talk in the upcoming session, like extract filters or data source filters, which reduce the data to what you need, right? So Tableau gives you that functionality to get in loads of data, filter it to a small amount, and then move it ahead, right? So with that, let's move to the next slide. It helps users create charts, graphs, maps, dashboards, and stories for visualizing. As said earlier, CXOs, CEOs, CFOs, they need to digest the data. They won't look at your spreadsheet, which has just numbers in there. They need beautiful graphs. They need beautiful visualizations to understand what's going on and to move ahead, right? So that's where Tableau comes in. It helps leaders spend 5-10 minutes on a dashboard and take key decisions. Whereas as an analyst, you can look at that spreadsheet for 2 to 3 hours, but a leader does not have that much amount of time. That's where a visualization tool comes into play. Now, Tableau has a lot of unique features that make it one of the most popular tools in business intelligence market. Example, R and Python. These two are the data science giant tools. Integrating this with R and Python is a huge advantage that Tableau has. And this will come in handy if you are a data science professional, or you are aiming to be a data science professional in this market, right? And the best part, that's why I like it. I'm not a coder from my college days, so I can say you don't need any programming language experience to use Tableau. It is just what you see, what you click, that is what you get. So you just need to know the interface, the tools that are available, and the more you use it, the better you will get at it. It's just like a musical instrument. Play with the tools and you'll get the chords right. As we have mentioned before, Tableau handles a lot of large data sets, but one edge that it has over Power BI, which is another big player in the market, is that Tableau handles data sets better than Power BI and handles larger data sets than Power BI. Of course, as mentioned, it integrates with R and Python, which are two major data science giants. There are more tools that can integrate with Tableau right now: Java, Python, R, and C++. So in case you guys already have any kind of knowledge with these tools, it will be immensely useful. And I don't need to stress it enough. The more tools you know and the more integrable those tools are, it will benefit you in your portfolio and in your applications to different companies. Now, a tool cannot be great without an active community. Similarly, a star cannot become a star without followers. A tool needs to have an active community. A tool needs to discuss its solutions on various forums, and a tool needs to have a chitter chatter around it. Tableau has a great community for that, and it does that by Tableau Public. There are so many people developing really beautiful dashboards and constantly uploading them or publishing them for the world to see. That is where a large extensive support comes in, a community comes in, and you can be a part of that community by taking the plunge into learning this tool. Now, how to get started with Tableau? You know why we use Tableau. You know now what is Tableau. Now you are interested in it, I hope, right? So, how to get started with it? To get started with Tableau, we first go to the Tableau public download page. If you see on the deck, we have the link. I'll just click on the link and we'll be immediately routed to a Tableau public page, right? In this, we'll click on go to Tableau public. Now you see two options here. On the top right, there is a sign in, and on the middle, there's a sign up for Tableau Public. If you already have an account on this website, please click on sign in. If you don't have an account on this website, click on sign up for Tableau Public and add your credentials so that you can create an account and then download this free software. So you can see on a screen, there is a first name, last name, email, password, and confirm password. Your account is created. Then log in into the account and you can get the Tableau Public installed. Since I already have an account created, I'll just sign in right now. And now I'm signed in. So I'll go back to the same page where I'll try to install Tableau Public. Yep, I'll click on go to Tableau Public. And you see my profile is logged in. And we should get a downloadable link. Download Tableau Desktop Public Edition, right? And you add your details. And I'll have to add a business email. So I'll just add my email. And I'll download the app. Oops. So the download will get started soon, or we can click on the link to get it started immediately. And the download is happening in the background. So coming back to the deck, now you can see the download is happening. Until the download happens, I'll show you some screenshots of the tool so that you get familiarized by the time it gets downloaded. So this is the instructions to download the Tableau public desktop version. We have followed that in the demo. Now we'll start to understand the interface. Once you open the Tableau, on the top left side, you will see to connect with data sources. For this course, we'll focus on Excel and CSV files. It's a Tableau public version. Those data sources are more than enough for your skills to get started. And to be very honest, for advanced skills as well. These skills will be transferable to any server that you work on, right? On the bottom right or on the right hand side of the Tableau space, you will see Learn Tableau options. Tableau has an official website where they also have some official videos uploaded in which they share how to work with Tableau, what are some of the new features that they're launching, some of the old features that they already have. So there is an extensive guide that you can also follow to learn a bit of Tableau videos. Then once we log into the Tableau, this will be the interface you see to load your data, right? If you see there is once you load a CSV file, there will be a connection created. Then there will be a very wide blank space where you drag and drop your CSV file. As I said, no code, just drag and drop, or a GUI, graphical user interface, right? And then we'll cover data blending and joining, the differences between data blending and joining. To put it simply, if you're working with two different data sources, right? Let's say one is a server, one is a CSV file or an Excel file, that will be called data blending. If both are CSV files, both are Excel files, basically if both are the same file format, then it's called data joining. For now, let's just remember that, and we can come back to this in detail later on in the course, right? I hope data blending and data joining is clear. Data blending, two different things. One is a server, one is a CSV file. And data joining, both are either an Excel or both are servers, right? So this is the difference between data blending and data joining. Now we'll also cover data transformation in Tableau. We won't go into the deep seeds of it yet. We'll only show what are the different panes: the data analytics pane, the markers pane, and if you can see on your slide, there we have marked with arrows which pane is what. So the red pane is the data analytics pane. It contains dimensions and measures. What they are, what they do, we'll explain later. Don't worry right now. The markers pane. What is a markers pane? It's really helpful in the visualization aspect. We'll use it in detail, so don't worry about it as well. Then detailed pane. The detailed pane shows you the things that are happening. If you're moving things around, if you're dragging and dropping from one end to the other, you will see that happening in the detailed pane. That's why it's called the detailed pane. Whatever you're doing, it is detailing that out for you, right? And then the show me shelf. Show me shelf is a very nice feature of Tableau. It keeps giving you recommendations of what you can do. So if you, let's say, are dragging, dropping something and a show me already predicts that you can do this with it, right? You just click on that thing and you immediately skip 2-3 steps and you get forward to your visualization that you wanted, right? So this will help you a lot. And I'll see if the Tableau is downloaded up until now. Okay, it's taking a bit of time. With that, I think one more slide is left. One more slide covers Power BI versus Tableau. We have discussed it in the early part of the video before as well. Power BI is Windows platform dependent. Tableau has no platform dependency. You can run it on any platform. Power BI, since it's a Microsoft product, it has integration support for MS Office, whereas Tableau offers native integration with Salesforce, since it's a Salesforce product. Power BI has limited options with programming language. Tableau has integration with R, Java, C++, Python, and like we mentioned, R and Python are two data science giants, right? So having integration does matter in community building and forums where you can ask questions and reach out for certain help and support. So this is the difference between Power BI and Tableau. And now we'll jump into the tool and see how we can, recognize the different panes, the data pane, the detailed pane, the show me pane, and of course, how to load data while we explain data blending and data joining again. Now that we have installed Tableau, you'll see something like this on your screen, right? There will be a Tableau Desktop Public Edition banner on the top, and it will be, of course, they'll try to make you buy Tableau on the top right, which you should not because you are in the learning stage right now. And you will see on the left-hand side, there will be a connect panel, just like I showed you in the screenshot in the deck that we showed. Similarly, once you click on the text file option, you'll be able to download a CSV file. For me, the CSV file is countries.csv. I'll click on countries.csv and then click on open. It immediately brings me to the data source tab in Tableau, and you can see countries.csv has been loaded. Up until now, no more steps ahead for loading data sources. Just focus on getting one CSV file through in Tableau. It's a good start. After that, to know which panes we are looking for, if you remember in the deck, we talked about 4 panes, right? One is the detailed view, one is the show me view, and one is the visual view, which helps you get the visualizations in a particular manner. And one is the panel where we get dimensions and measures. So this is the panel in front of you, and you can see all the 4 views in front. To be a bit more granular, those 4 panes are called data analytics pane, markers pane, detailed pane, and show me shelf, right? So I'll go back to the Tableau sheet and you can see markers pane, it's called marks, data analytics pane, which has your dimensions and measures. To give you in brief, dimensions are categorical variables. Example, men, women. These are categories, right? Measures, ages of men and women. Men is 40, women is 45, something like that. Those are measures. You are measuring someone. That's why it's called a measure, and dimension is a category, right? Men and women is category, their ages are measures. So you can just understand that for now. It will be great. Marks panel, marker panel will help you detail. Detail view will give you the visualization. And I again would like to reiterate, it's a completely graphical user interface tool. You don't need to have any coding knowledge to work in this. We'll be diving into filtering data, data filters. Data filters is step 1, and believe me, it goes till step 101 because this is the most important thing you need to know to derive insights out of your data. If you can slice, dice, and filter your data in a manner which generates insights, you'll be invaluable to any organization you apply to or work for in the future. With that, let's get started. In the deck, you'll see that the filtering data in Tableau is a topic. Moving ahead, the agenda for this. Why data filtering? Similar to why Tableau. We'll follow the same structure. Types of data filtering. What are different types of data filters? In Tableau, there are 6 types. And I'll show in those 6 types of data filters, 3 are performance driven and 3 are interactivity driven. We'll cross that bridge when it comes. And third will be the demo. Once I give you all the theory in this PPT, you should expect a demo out of it. And in that demo, I'll be hands-on and I'll show you how to apply those 6 kinds of filters, right? With that, let's get started. So why data filtering? As I said in the introduction, data filtering is of utmost importance to generate insights. If you can generate insights with the data that you are working in, you are no longer just a data analyst, you are a consultant. And you can help CXOs or your managers or business leaders make important decisions which drives improvements in your business and in that process makes you invaluable to your team members and to your firm. So now, where I have rambled enough about the importance of data filtering, let's get started to why we need data filtering. Until now, we have only come across how we can get started, right? But how do you solve business problems? You need to filter data. Okay, but how do we do that? How does Tableau help in this scenario? You can filter data in Excel or in Google Sheets or in R or Python as well. Where does Tableau help in this? Tableau has 6 types of data filters, which helps us in analyzing focus areas and gives us a 5-point summary. When I say 5-point summary, it's very important to understand what 5-point summary means. 5-point summary is not like we'll give you 5 bullets which you have to cram into your head and remember it throughout the day. No. 5-point means exploratory data analysis. That means the minimum value of that data. Quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and the maximum value of that data. If you see 5 points, minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, which is also known as median, quartile 3, which is 75th percentile, and then the maximum value, that is the quartile 4. This is the 5-point summary, right? So once you use data filters, you'll understand that what is the range of a data set. And you can select the range which you want to play with or the range which is giving you an insight which everyone is waiting for. Third point, easy access to specifics. If you look at a large data set, it will be generic. If you look at a specific data set, you'll be able to find something specific to a certain audience, which then gives you a behavioral or an attitudinal aspect to it. This will in turn help you look at the data through multiple lenses, multiple angles, and through multiple sources so that you are not just looking at a macro view, but at a micro view as well. This is called analyzing in slices, right? Now, once we know data filters, macro view, micro view, what are the types of data filters which help you achieve these views? As I mentioned in the intro, there are 6 types. 3 are performance driven, 3 are interactivity driven. Now, these 6 filters are on your screen right now. You can see extract filters, data source filters, context filters, dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters. If you divide your screen into 2 halves, on the left hand side, you see extract filters, data source filters, and context filters. These 3 are performance optimization filters. These 3 will help you optimize your Tableau's performance. On the right side of your screen, dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters are the interactivity filters. These filters will be applied at a worksheet level and the user will be able to see the power of these filters. Again, left part of your screen, performance filters, right part of your screen, interactivity filters. I hope that's clear. Now that I have named these 6 filters, I'll go into the depth of it. I'll explain to you what each type of filter is, how these 3 filters are performance filters, how the latter 3 filters are interactivity filters. So we move on to the next slide. First one, extract filters. Extract filters are applied when you create an extract of your data source. In layman language, you have a data source of 9 million rows. You only want 1 million rows for your analysis. Why will you load a 9 million rows data set, right? So you'll only extract what is relevant to you. Focus on the word extract here, right? This is what an extract filter does. They limit the data being extracted from the source, which helps in reducing the data volume. In our example, 9 million, 1 million. We reduced 89% of the data by just doing that, right? Use cases, it reduces data volume for better performance. Exactly the same thing that we discussed. Extract filters help you only pull in the data that you require. That's why it's called an extract filter. Full disclosure, This filter won't be applicable for Tableau public version. This is applicable for uh, live and extract options that you only get in Tableau desktop version, right? So you won't be using this filter in the demo, which we do it later. So just wanted to let you know that upfront. Moving ahead, data source filters, another one of the performance filters. If you imagine a screen where you have data source, right? And the data that you're being pulled into it, right? Extraction filter taps into the source, right? You only got 1 million rows into the data source. In that 1 million rows, there is a possibility that you later find out, okay, out of those 1 million rows, 200,000 rows are not important to me at all. What do you do then? You don't like go back and remove the rows again from the extract, right? You can apply a data source filter. At the data source which you have for 1 million, you reduce the 200,000 rows. Now you have 800,000 rows which are important. So the definition of a data source filter is as follows. It applies directly to the data source, affecting all analyses. So the data flows into data source. Extraction happens at the data level. Data source filters happen at the data source level, and then it flows on to the worksheets. I hope the hierarchy is clear. The data source, and then the worksheets, right? I'm doing this sign here because there are multiple worksheets, if you can relate with it. Now that we have extract filter, data source filters, third will be context filters. Now this filter is applied at a worksheet level. Up until now, the two filters happened at the data level or at the data source level. This is the first filter out of the 6 which we are applying at the worksheet level. First, let's go through the definition, and then I'll tell you the use case scenario for it. Filters applied to control the data displayed in reports and visuals on user interaction. Users interact with worksheets, right? These filters can be set using slicers, filter panes, or within the visual setting. And it improves performance. Like I said, it's a performance filter. What is the use case? Let's say you pipe in your 800,000 rows, as we discussed in the example. I'm continuing the same example. In those 800,000 rows, the first visualization that you create, that is only concerned with the 200,000 rows. You don't need to load huge data, right? So for that visualization, which only caters to a certain geography or a certain level of detail, you'll put a context filter there, right? And it will only load those amount of rows, right? And since that visualization is based on 200,000 rows, whatever you filter apply post context filter, it will only filter the 200,000 rows, right? So let me give you in a layman perspective. Context filter is the highest priority filter on the worksheet, right? If you apply a context filter on a worksheet, any filter you apply subsequent will happen on that data set on which the context filter has been applied. I hope that's clear. If not, please look into the theory again. And once we do the demo, it will be very, very clear what we are trying to do. So wait for the demo, right? Now, performance filters are done. Extract filters, data source filters, and context filter. These were the performance filters. Now we move on to interactivity filters. These are dimension filters, measures filters, and table calculation filters. In dimension filters, if you remember, I explained in brief in the last video what dimensions are and what measures are. Dimensions are categories, measures are values. Example, men and women are dimensions. It's a category, men, women. Gender has two categories, men and women. Men can be of a certain age, women can be of a certain age, which is a numerical value. That's a measure. So these are dimensions and measures. Now a dimension filter. Dimension filters are applied to categorical data such as names, dates, regions, etc. These are useful for including or excluding specific categories. If you only are concerned with the data regarding women or the data regarding men, you apply a dimension filter. Let's say your data has data for both men and women, right? What if you only want to analyze the data for men because that is your target demographic? In that case, you will apply a dimension filter, which will only filter the records in the rows which are for men or for women, right? So this example, I hope, helps you understand what a dimension filter is. You are only filtering one dimension. Cool. Now, similarly, when you move to a measure filters are applied to a quantitative data such as sales, profit, ratings. These filters help to include or exclude data based on numerical values. Example, age was a numerical value, like I said before, right? So, if you only want to look at data, let's say greater than a certain value, you ask 10 people, how do you rate me on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's say 8 out of them say I rate you above 5, right? And the 2 out of 10 say I rate you below 5. You can set a cutoff at 5 and say that I'm only interested in people who rated me above 5. So your sample would not be 10 people, it will be 8 people for your analysis, right? So you can set these kind of filters, and those kind of filters are called measure filters, where you use a quantitative cutoff to move ahead, right? Again, these filters help to include or exclude data based on numerical values. So in my example, greater than 5 cutoff was based on a numerical value. It can come through various sources, through some code or through some intuition or through some discussion. But that cutoff is a numerical cutoff. Hence, it's a measure filter. And with that, we come to the last filter called table calculation filters. As it says, table calculation, you calculate a field in Tableau and then you filter it. So the definition is very crisp. It's applied to results of table calculations. Once you create a calculated field in Tableau, then you apply the filter based on that. Don't worry, in the demo, we will cover 5 out of the 6 filters because extract filter cannot be covered in Tableau Public, as I mentioned before. But these 5 out of the 6 filters will show you in the Tableau demo ahead. Before we move to the demo, I would like to show you some of the example screenshots that we have here of dimension filter and table calculation filter. These will be used in the demo itself. So if you don't understand what's going on, if you feel there are too many drop downs, don't worry, a demo is coming up ahead. And in that demo, before we begin, there is a problem statement that I want you guys to remember in your head, or at least absorb it before we move on to the demo. The problem statement goes as follows. You are a data analyst at United Airlines. You are tasked to improve user experience. You must gather actionable information. That means you must get insights from extensive customer experience data provided by the company. So United Airlines had a lot of customers. They floated a survey to them. They gave their feedback. You have the data for that feedback, and now you need to get actionable insights out of that data. What columns are in that data? Really good question if that popped in your head. Next slide shows me the number of rows in that data, number of columns in that data, column names, and the descriptions of that data. So see this right now, what columns are there, what is the description of that column. And on the next slide also, there are some extra columns that you can see. All of these columns you will use in your analyses, and we will use it in the demo and show you how we can use these columns with their descriptions to understand this problem statement, ace this problem statement, and give actionable insights as required to improve the user experience. So now we'll start with the Tableau desktop and load our data on the file. If you see your screen, you will have a panel that we discussed in the first video. So we'll click on the text file, add the 2 CSVs that we have right now. So I'll click on BA_reviews, and you can see both the CSVs are there in my Tableau desktop, Tableau public. BA_reviews has been dragged. I'll add countries.csv to my data source panel, and it shows me an error, an alert to be precise. It tells me that I have to define a relationship between the 2 CSVs. Now, what is a relationship? How is it different from a join? I'll highly encourage you guys to go online on the Tableau website, click on learn more, and then find what it shows. Everything that you do on Tableau, you should be aware about it. And relationships versus joins is a very basic concept that you guys should know how it's performing. For now, I'll just give you a brief context. Relationship is an automatic way that Tableau determines what kind of a join it needs to apply between the 2 files, right? So with that brief context, I know, as I've seen the data in first-hand perspective, that the place column in BA reviews is equivalent to the country column in countries.csv. So once I define the relationship, you can see the alert or the error between the 2 data sets. It has vanished. So we won't be covering extract filter because extract filter is only possible in Tableau desktop version, which is a paid version. In Tableau public version, we don't really need to use the extract filter since we only add CSV files in our data source. The moment we add it in the data source filter is the first thing we need to know about. So to do the data source filter, go on the top right of your screen, you will see a panel called filters and it will have a hyperlink word called add. If you click on that add, you will see another option to add filter based on all the columns that you have loaded in your data set. Since we loaded these two CSV files, we'll have a combination of all the columns of these two CSV files because we just added a relationship between the two. So I would like to filter for region because my business case is only for North America, right? So I'll just scroll down, I'll filter North America, and I'm only interested in the rows for North America. And if you see on the bottom right visualization or in the bottom right filter panel, you'll see that now the continent is North America and all the countries available in that region have been filtered out. So this is the data source filter. We loaded the data source, we added a filter, and the data source got optimized. So now if the rows were, let's say, 2 million and North American rows are only, let's say, 300,000, you have optimized the performance of your workbook. This is a great achievement if you know how to use a data source filter. Now, we don't want to see the insights only for the North American region. So as of now, I'll remove the data source filter. How to remove it? Again, go to the top right. Now that add button will be an edit button. Click on that edit. On your screen, you will see that region filter keeps North America. I'll click on that and I'll click on remove. And then I'll press on OK. And if you see on the bottom right grid, now all the regions are available, not just North America. Right? So data source, we have covered. Now we move ahead. Third performance filter was called the context filter. So for the context filter, I'll move to sheet 1. Here, I'll add ratings. So let's see what are the average ratings. So I drag the rating on the columns. I change the sum to an average. And then I add, let's say, aircrafts. I want to see all the aircrafts that I have in my data set sorted in a descending order. I click on label to show mark labels and I see all of the mark labels for aircraft average rating in a descending order. So now I want to look for traveler type. I want to see the business travelers, right? So I see that in business, these are the aircrafts used. These are the descending order of ratings provided to these aircrafts. Let's add a top 15 filter to an aircraft. So I click on the rows panel on the top on the blue pill. I go to the top, select by field, and I do a top 15. So when I click on the top 15 and I click OK, I get the top 15 rows, right? Now, are these top 15 rows correct? That is what we need to find out right now. Because we didn't set a context right now in this visualization. Now, what is a context? This is a very important concept here. Just by the term context, it's very important to understand that whenever you talk with someone, you give someone a context about something and then they take steps on it, right? Similarly, if I just apply a filter on aircraft dimension without giving it a context, it might not work the way it should. We cannot assume that aircraft dimension knows what we do, right? So we need to set a context that we only want business traveler type. To do that, what you can do, you can click on traveler type business, click add to context. And now if you see, your order and the numbers have changed. So your visualization, how is it working? Step number 1. First, the filter is happening at a traveler type level. Traveler type, only business rows are being filtered. So if your rows are 100, business rows are 25, only 25 rows are being filtered. After those 25 rows are being filtered, then aircraft dimension filter adds, okay, out of those 25 rows, what are my top 15? This is how the dimension filter knows what is the context and how the dimension filter can proceed filtering on it. Hence the reason of the name, context filter. So this is very important concept. You should play around with it. And believe me, if you don't set a context, you will not get the same answer that you're getting right now. So this was context filter. Moving on, we are done with performance filters. Now we'll go to interactivity filters. Interactivity filters are dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters. In the context filter visualization itself, when I added a filter for aircraft, if you notice, aircraft is a dimension, it's a category. That filter itself is called a dimension filter. To give you a clarity, I'll do it again. Let's say I add ratings to the columns. So I'll drag and drop ratings to the columns. I'll convert it into an average. I'll add aircrafts to rows. I'll sort it in a descending order. I'll add labels. Now, I need to add a dimension filter. I click on the rows aircraft, which is a dimension. I click on filter. I go to the top panel. I click on by field and I do a top 15. I run an OK and I have top 15 aircraft. If you notice, visualization hasn't changed. It's just removed all the bottom from the top 15. Only the top 15 aircraft are there in front of me, right? So this is an example of a dimension filter. Now, if you had to put a measure filter, how will you go about it? So let's new sheet, new filter. Okay, I'll add rating again. I'll add rating again to the columns. I'll change it to average. I'll add aircrafts again. I'll sort it and I'll add labels again. I hope now you are used to me adding labels, sorting it in a descending order, and showing you where the measures and dimensions go. It's a repetitive exercise and I'm doing it intentionally so that you know how to just, do the regular stuff when you open Tableau, right? So aircraft, average ratings, sorted, and labels are added. Now, measure filter. What among the above two is a measure? Is aircraft a measure? No, it's a dimension. We just covered that a dimension filter works on a categorical variable, right? So the only measure in this chart is ratings because it's a rating value. Now, if I click on that green pill, by the way, we call these pills on the top because they are pill shaped. That's the only reason we call it pills, right? So average rating, green pill, I click here, I do a filter. I want at least a rating of 7. And I click OK. And all the aircrafts which have an average rating of 7 are being retained in the visualization, else have been removed. Since you could not capture the difference on your screen, I'll change the cutoff to at least, let's say, 8. And then you'll see the bottom rows which had a rating of 7 collapse. This is a measure filter. You are reducing the aircrafts which could not achieve a certain score. This can be because a certain client asked you to do so, or because you just only want to show, let's say, ratings above 8 or ratings above 6, right? So this is specific to certain business case scenarios. Wherever you require a dimension filter, you can use a dimension filter. Wherever you require a measures filter, you can use a measures filter, right? So on interactivity filters, dimension filter done, measure filter done. Now we come to the last filter, and I promise this is the last one. It's called table calculation filter. I go to a new sheet. Again, same rating. I'll have it on the top. Average ratings, right? And I'll add, let's say, not aircraft this time. It's getting a bit boring. Let's add region, right? I want regions ratings. I'll sort it in a descending order and I'll show mark labels. So I have now regions. I mean, the visualization is not looking nice. There are blanks. There are some decimal values in it as well. But okay, let's keep the decimal values. We are not worried about that much. But I only am interested in the top 5. I don't want anything else. So there are two ways to do that, right? One, you can just apply a dimension filter, which we already did a while back. But here I'll show you a table calculation filter. So by that I mean we'll first have to create a calculated field. How to create a calculated field? Very good question. On the data panel on the left hand side, if you see, I go to the region pill, I click on the drop down, I'll go to an option called create. And the moment I go there, I get four more options: calculated field, group, set, parameter. In this case, I want to create a set because I want top 5. It's a set, right? So I go to create, I click on set, there's an option called top in there. I go by field. I want the top 5 regions based on their average ratings. I click on top 5, I click on OK, and a new region set has been created in the data panel. Now, I haven't dragged it yet. The moment I drag it to a filter panel, boom, you see the top 5 filtered on your detailed panel. This is how a table calculation filter works. You do the calculation outside of the detailed panel, then you drag and drop that onto the filter section and it filters as per your choice. So, interactivity filters, dimensions, measures, and now table calculation filters. Done. In summary, now we have covered 6 types of filters. The performance filters were extract, data source, and context. And context filter is very, very, very important. Make sure that you revise it as much as you can because it might get asked around a lot, right? In interactivity filters, dimension filters, measure filters, and table calculation filters happen at a worksheet level. So they are also important because the level of insights you'll withdraw will come from those filters. Why visualizations? As I mentioned, visualizations are graphical representation of the data points that you analyzed. They are essentially part of your thought. So if you're thinking in a direction, you should be able to visualize it in a way to communicate your point to the room, or in fact, to the people who are strategic decision takers. So if you're good at collecting your thoughts in a business manner, you'll be able to create a good visualization. All you need is the tool at your fingertips to help you do that. And it helps you with easy sharing of information, as we have discussed. Interactive insight gathering. What if you share an insight to 5-6 people in a room? You see it in a different way and the others see it in a different way. It is a really great tool to get a discussion going, right? So if you create a good visualization, you can discuss multiple thoughts in the room. So it's really, really helpful, and more than helpful, it's powerful, right? Understanding data points and the relationships. If you are a good analyst, you will understand the data points you're working with. And if you know the relationships between those data points, you'll be able to add that in your visualization and you'll be able to present it in a very nice manner to the hierarchy or your strategic business takers or your strategic business decision takers. Apologies. So with that, I've covered why do we need visualizations. Now we'll go to type of charts. We have 10 types of charts which you'll see on your screen. I think 9 of them will be applicable to the data set that we provide. So we'll cover that in the demo. Don't worry about it. These 10 charts, I'll just call them out right now before we move ahead. Most of you would have covered 4-5 of these charts. So it'll be a good familiar exercise to, whatever you already know, how to duplicate that or reproduce that in a Tableau tool format, right? So wait for the demo. We'll cover it as it comes. So we have bar chart, histograms. Histogram you might also know as a frequency plot. So that helps in that case. Bubble charts. Radar charts must be very new for you, and there is a whiz that we can add in Tableau which helps us achieve that radar chart. I'll show it in the demo. It's really, really interesting. Then waterfall chart. Waterfall chart is the only chart which will not be applicable in the data set that we have provided for this study. So I encourage you to look into waterfall chart at your end because it requires quantitative variables, but more on that later. So I'll cover the remaining 5 charts. Pie chart. I think everybody will know what a pie chart is. It shows a proportion to 100%. You can, make a circular chart that you can get and get percentages out of it. Line chart. We do, check stock prices, right? Stock prices come from line charts. Line chart is one of the best way to show how the stock price is progressing. So you can make a line chart for stock prices. Area charts, if you want to look area under the curves, you want to compare 2 or 3 line charts, area charts come in very handy because you get to see an area under the line. That comes in there. Scatter chart, you want to maybe look into data and see, is rating 1 correlated to rating 2? Or is rating 4 correlated to rating 3? A scatter chart will just plot the points on a 2-dimensional axis, and you'll be able to see visually, is there a correlation or not? If there is a correlation, you'll be able to decide what's the next step ahead. Then a box plot. Box plot, as we mentioned, I think you'll be able to connect the dots to the first lecture here. In the first lecture, we said a 5-point summary. In the box plot, we get the 5-point summary. If you remember, the 5-point summary was minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, which is the median, then the quartile 3, and the maximum, which is the quartile 4. And then you can see all of these things playing out, and you can get the spread of the data. Box plot helps us to imagine spread for multiple variables together in a graph rather than seeing it on let's say an Excel sheet. This will visually tell you what is the spread of the data. So you don't need to get into the numbers, right? So with this, I have given you a brief introduction of all the 10 charts. Let's quickly go over the slides so that we can jump to the interesting part, that is the demo. So bar chart is used to compare the data points. You will usually put a qualitative versus a quantitative metric on the dimensions and the measures. And you can see an example snippet of a bar chart on the left-hand side. Don't worry, we'll create something like this in our demo. Histogram, it's a frequency plot. You want to see the distribution of a sample on, let's say, a rating scale. On a rating scale, you asked 100 people to rate from a scale of 1 to 7. How many rated 1 to 3? How many rated 4 and 5? How many rated 6, 7? Right? Top box, middle box, and bottom box. You created boxes out of it. In Tableau, we call them as bins. So when we create a histogram, bins will be really, really useful, and I'll show you in the demo as well. Bubble chart. It categorizes the data into clusters for wider perspective and easier understanding. The text here might not click in your brain as we speak, but in the demo, you'll see what I mean. The size of the bubble indicates a quantitative value. So it's actually when you have 10, 20, 50 categories and only 3 or 4 have a larger bubble size, you'll immediately know which category is the one that you need to look out for. So there a bubble chart comes into play. A radar chart. If you have played any video game, especially FIFA, or you watch sports, basketball, football, cricket, recently a lot of radar charts have come into use, right? You see one player who is good at shooting, passing, etc., goalkeeping, defense, attack. So one player at the center can graph it out on multiple points. This is a radar chart. We can create it in Tableau, and we'll show you within our data set how we can use it and how we can plot one rating at multiple dimensions. Moving ahead, we have a waterfall chart. As discussed earlier, this will not apply to the data set that we have, but this is a great chart to have in your arsenal, so you should know theoretically what it means. So it shows you a gradual increase or decrease from an initial point to a final point. So if you have, let's say, $100, you added $50 and then you spent $30. So 100 plus 50 minus 30. Then you added 100, it goes up, 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 down. So it's a waterfall chart. It creates a pattern, and every chart starting point, it adds on to it, right? And you can see that in the snippet as well. This is a waterfall chart where you can understand the incremental and the decremental, right? So, and you can, the definition also says where the chart showcases the increase or decrease in quantitative values, right? So we have the quantitative values in our data set. If you have looked into the data set up until now, which I'm hoping you have, we have rating values. Rating values are categorical values. You cannot say they are quantitative. Hence the reason we won't be able to use that. Cool? Okay, moving ahead. Pie chart. I don't think we need an introduction to this chart, but I'll still take a pass at it. Pie chart showcases proportions of categories with perspective to the entire share. Example, IPL, right? It has 10 to 12 cricketing teams, right? if we take a percentage of that, every team will be 10% or 8%, right? When we do that, a pie chart can be created. How many runs did each team score? You can show it in a pie chart that, okay, the teams who went till the last match of the season would have scored a higher proportion of runs. So that can be captured via a pie chart. So you can use pie chart wherever you need proportions or even counts, to be very honest, because at the end of the day, you divide counts by a larger count to get a proportion, right? Moving ahead, line chart, as discussed in the introduction, stock prices. Just remember that whatever moves day to day, date to date, you can capture it in a line chart, especially if it's a quantitative variable. So whenever we check prices, mutual fund prices, stock prices, a line moves in that graph itself. So next time you open that app, make sure you notice it. Area chart, if you have multiple accumulated data points in different categories, this is a good chart to compare. It might be different to click in your head at first, but look at the snippet. I can clearly see that this chart could have been a line chart with two lines, but due to the color differences and the volume differences that I can see in the chart, I can clearly notice that the orange one is doing a bit better. And now in 2023, the gray one moved ahead. So area chart helps us visually by improving the way we look at a chart. So area chart just helps you with two or three lines and you can convert it into an area and see which one's dominating or which one is not dominating, right? Moving ahead, a scatter plot, one of my favorites because we can find correlation using these plots. Now, what is correlation? I again encourage you to read about it, but in a brief, if two things are moving together, it's correlation. Example, if Indian markets go on top with the US markets, our markets are correlated with the US, right? So it's moving in the same direction. It's a positive correlation. If our markets go down with the US markets, it's still a positive correlation, right? A negative correlation means it's in an opposite direction, right? So whether the data is positively correlated or negatively correlated, a scatter plot will give us a great idea. And to be very honest, there can be a scenario where the data isn't correlated at all. In the snippet you see here, I can see that the green dots have a correlation because it's going in a straight line. And this will help me in gathering an insight and we'll show it in the demo how we can do that. Now a box plot, 5-point summary, minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, quartile 4. 5-point summary. And we'll create this chart in Tableau so that you can see for each year how we can get a box plot. Okay, this is just an example chart for bar to show you a wide picture. How will we create a bar chart? And once we do, I'll make sure you know where to drop in, where to drop the measure, where to drop the dimension, what to drop in the color so that you get these colors while you do it. So remember, bar chart, colors, and columns and rows. Now we'll move to the demo. Okay, so now we are in the demo. I have Tableau open on my screen. If you see, I have all the sheets labeled as per the charts we are going to create. Okay, so if you have seen the video up until now and you have any doubts in the charts, theoretically, I'll recommend you rewind and see it again so that you are clear while we are making the chart in this demo. We won't repeat any theoretical points now. I'll explain how to utilize Tableau to achieve what you want to achieve through your visualizations. So first, a bar chart. Let's put a year of date flown. I want to look the years of date flown and I want to add a rating. No, I want to look at, let's say, aircrafts. Okay, I want to look at aircrafts and I'll create it to a measure. I want to look at count of aircrafts flown on the particular date. So I get a visualization out of it. Pretty simple. It's a bar chart. In the marks, you can see it's a bar. That is how you know it's a bar chart. Now, but in the example we showed, it had colors and the colors were for traveler types. Do we have a column called traveler type? Yeah, we do. So we'll click on that, drag it to color, and boom, we can see that a travel type filter, color has been applied and the legend is on the top right. Now this resembles the one that you show in the PPT, right? All I did was put the years for the dates flown, add the aircrafts, not the aircrafts, the count of aircrafts. So the dimension was in the columns, year is the dimension, the count of aircrafts is the measures, and the traveler type, I want to distinguish the traveler type, I put it in the color. And you can see that we have business numbers from year to year, and business numbers were only good at 2017, 2018, 19. Count of aircrafts have been going down. I don't know the reason for that, but maybe look into the data and find out. Cool. So this was bar chart. Now let's move to histogram. In histogram, let's see, how should we do it? Let's take the value of seat comfort. So if you see, there is something called a seat comfort, and I can put that in the column and I can show you the average of seat comfort. Okay. It shows me a scale of 0 to 2.8, but I need to make a frequency distribution, right? Frequency distribution involves me creating intervals and then taking counts. So how will this help? How will the seat comfort help? If I create it into a dimension, maybe it helps, but it just creates every value for one, and I'll get a pretty crowded frequency plot. That's not what I want. So if you see, we created something like a seat comfort bin in our sheet. I'll first remove that, delete that in fact, so that I can make it again with you. So we go to seat comfort, click on that, create, and we create a bins. So boxes is the same as bins. Example, if the rating happened on a 1 to 7 scale and you want to define ratings of 6 and 7 as a box or a bin, you can do that here. So at intervals of a certain number, you can create a bin. So once I create on edit bins, new field, seat comfort bin, I want to create a size of bin of 1.5. And I'll click OK. A seat comfort bin has been created in the dimensions. So now if you see, my dimensions are minus 1.5 to 0, 1.5 to 3, 0 to 1.5 also, and 3 to 4.5. So now it's a control graph, and now I can see the frequency distribution in these bins. A point of context here, if you see, this minus 1.5 shouldn't have been there in the data set. Why is it there? A really good question, and you should ask this question before reaching this video, because the first step before moving ahead with analysis or making a visualization is data cleaning. As of now, the data that we have is not clean. So I do hope when you make your visualizations, you clean the data and you take out the irrelevant ratings. A person cannot rate something negative when the acceptable values are, let's say, 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 or 1 to 5. So every rating question in a customer survey has a positive value of rating. So in this, ignore it for now. You can have negative ratings, but when you do the visualizations, please make sure that you clean the data before you move ahead. Okay, so now seat comfort bins are done. Now I'll add same seat comfort data and I'll just convert this to count because I already have the bins. Now I just want to see how many rows I get in the bins. Okay, I can see that in the bins of minus 1.5 to 0 I have 11, and from 0 to 1.5 I have 287, right? So this way I can read the data and the distribution of it. Now, does it look like a histogram? Not really, but the numbers are right. I mean, we cannot dispute the numbers over here, but it doesn't look like an histogram. A histogram has bars touching each other. It looks a certain way, just like the way we showed you in the presentation. So how to do that? There's a trick to it. Just go to seat comfort bins in the columns. It's a dimension right now. Just change it to continuous. It's a discrete value right now. Once you change it to continuous, it will immediately show you the distribution between minus 1.5 to 0. And now whatever I said will make a lot of sense to you. Minus 1.5 to 0, 11 rows are there. 0 to 1.5, 287 rows are there. Similarly, from 4.5 to 6, 177 rows are there. And after 6, there are no rows. So the rating scale peaks at 6. That's what you know from this chart. And most of the people in your data set rated 3 to 4.5. Well, that's what you get after making an histogram where the data set lies. Right? So now histogram is done. Let's move to a bubble chart. For a bubble chart, let's see what we can use. Let's use traveler type. Traveler type, I'll add it to the size and I'll select a circle on the marks panel. Make sure in every chart sheet that I'm going, you focus on the marks because every visualization is kind of captured in Tableau. So you'll know from this marks panel what we are trying to create. So traveler type is there. And if I take the same traveler type and take it in, let's say, okay, we already have it in the size. I'll convert it into a measure of count. Yeah. Why did I convert it into a measure of count? I want the bubble to represent a quantitative number. Higher the number, larger the bubble, right? So a higher number represents larger bubble. I need the count for my bubbles to be larger. Otherwise, it won't work. I put the counts and now you can see the larger bubbles. You can see the counts here. Let's make it a bit pretty, right? The traveler type, let's add it to color. Boom. Now the blue is converted to a red, orange, green and blue, right? We get variety. It pops up and it demands attention from our eyes. That's what you want. It still isn't complete. Let's add some label to it, right? This traveler type, I'll add it to the label. I'll get the names of the bubbles. Do we need the numbers as well? Well, if you hover over it, you'll get the tooltip, the 446, the numbers that you have. What if you want that numbers in the bubble itself? Well, we can do that too. You'll get the traveler type, you'll add it to a label. Actually, it's already added. So let's just convert that to a measure of count, 446. And let's add traveler type again to a label and put it above the count of traveler type that we added. So now we can see business 316 rows, couple leisure 446 rows. And this finishes our bubble chart. Now we already know that couple leisure travel is much common than solo leisure travel, which in a way we already knew, but it's good to know that solo leisure travel is much larger than business and family leisure. So the data does tell that solo leisure travel has taken up in the recent years. Good to know. Now we come to radar chart. One thing before we begin. If you go to the marks panel and do a drop down, you won't find the radar chart in the drop down. Why is that? It's not available in Tableau, but it's available as a Wiz extension. That's what I meant when I said we'll use a Wiz, right? Here, you search for radar, you won't find it. Oh, you will find it. You use this radar chart by info topics. You click here and you click on open. There will be a pop-up which will say, do you want to allow this extension? You'll click on okay, yes, I want to allow. And then a radar chart is ready. If you see here, this is a bit different. This asks you for dimensions and then measures in the chart panel itself. It doesn't ask you on the top in the columns and the rows. So in this, what can we use? Let's use these types, seed type and traveler type. I want to know for each seed type and for each traveler type, what is the average rating? Okay, let's try to build that. So I'll click on the seed type, add it to a dimension, and I'll click on the traveler type, add it to a dimension as well. So I see that my latest dimension is traveler type. That's what's on the outer side of the radar. And now I want to add a average of rating in the measures. So I'll add that to the measure. I'll go to the measure drop down and convert it to an average. And here I can clearly see that first class for family leisure rating is really high, right? And for business class, family leisure, sorry, for first class and traveler type business, ratings are high. And you can similarly see a radar chart where you can analyze what ratings in which category are dipping, in which categories the ratings are moving up, right? So these radar charts help you analyze two categories at a time, or you can even add more categories if you want. And the tooltips will help you show the visualization in a particular manner. Do create this visualization a couple of times. It will make your mind think how you can play around with it. I highly recommend it. Okay, now let's go to something easy. Radar chart was a bit handful, right? Let's go to pie chart. So what can we do with a pie chart? Let's add seat type to size, sorry, color, and we have a pie chart on our screen, but it doesn't have the numbers yet, right? So maybe let's say seat type and we add it to the angle and we change it to a count and measure, and we have the numbers here. Again, doesn't look nice, right? Let's add the labels to it. Seat type to labels, yes, we have it, but we should add the numbers as well, right? Who will float around and keep looking at the tooltip? So I'll change this to a measure, count, and then I'll add the seat type as labels again, and I'll move it above the number. Looks good, right? You can change this absolute number to a percentage. This I'll leave it to you for you to explore. There is a way you can do that, but I'll not cover it right now. I want you to create the pie chart till this point and then show the percentages in the labels so that the user can just see at the pie chart and know which percentages are dominating. Of course, we can see that economy is dominating right now in the pie chart, but what is the percentage for that? So try that out. Now, we move from difficult to an easier chart. Now, this is the most easy chart of all, guys. This is the most easy, the most fastest, and the easiest chart to interpret as well because we use it in our day-to-day lives. We see it on the TV every day, right? It's a line chart. Let's add date, year in the columns, and let's add count of aircrafts. In the rows, if you see the moment I added it, it's a dimension. I'll convert it to a measure and convert it to a count. And boom, the first chart that Tableau automatically picks, it's a line chart. And I can go to the marks pane and convert it into a line chart, but it won't matter, right? I'll fit it to the entire view and I'll see the line chart in itself. Doesn't look good? Let's add data labels. So I'll take aircraft here and I'll put a measure and I'll put a count. Boom. And I have the data labels. It works, right? This is the line chart. Simple. And now area chart. For area chart, let's consider date. Okay. Let's take average rating for that date. Again, I'm just choosing variables on the fly so that you can also use multiple variables and play around with it. So I see the average ratings dipping in the last few years. Now I want to convert this to an area chart. Let's see it. Okay, area chart works. I'll show mark labels. I know what the average ratings are. So it started at 4.16 in 2016. Now is at 2.6. So something really happened, right? Now I also want to see the ground service rating at the same time to see if that's the culprit of dragging this value to the bottom, right? So how to do that? I'll first drag the ground service pill to the rows column, convert it to an average as well. And if you see, two area charts are formed, one on the top of other. But this is not what we showed to you in the PPT before. So how to get that visualization right? Very easy. The way we do that is called a dual axis. We combine the axis of these two charts into one chart and collapse it together. How to do that? Go to the average ground service pill, the green pill, the measures pill that you added in the rows on the top. There is an option called dual axis. You click on that and you get the dual axis done. Now that we're done with the area chart, we'll move on to the scatter plot. It's one of my favorite plots because you get to derive insights from it, whether two variables are correlated or not. So I'll show you what I was able to find in this data, and this is a very, decent correlation that I would say, but I'll show you and you'll also be able to understand why I did and what I did. So what we'll do here, I have a hypothesis that says if a person rates a good score for value of money, it's because they received good cabin staff service. So in a way, both of these ratings should be correlated, right? So I put the average for both value of money and cabin staff service on both the axes, X and the Y axes. And now I'll add the aircraft to detail. I see a scatter plot. I can see there's some correlation overall, but I first want to see whether there's a correlation in different traveler types. So what I do, I pick the traveler type, I put it down on the color, and I can see, boom, different colors. And if I just look at solo leisure, I think there is a decent amount of correlation here. If a person is rating a higher than average cabin staff service, it is more likely that they feel it is a value for money. And similarly, you can look into family leisure, couple leisure, business. In business, the correlation is not that good. But in couple leisure, I can find this a similar correlation. But for solo leisure, the correlation is pretty strong. So this is what I could find with a scatter chart, and scatter chart is really useful to have a measure by measure chart, scatter the plots, look into different categories and see whether a correlation is present. Now that we're done with scatter plot and we have seen how correlation we can calculate from it, not exactly calculate, observe correlation from it, right? So we have had a chart of measure by measure. We saw the data points and we saw there is a correlation for solo leisure travelers who rate high with cabin staff service, also rate high on value of money parameter. Now moving ahead, we have box plot. Now, if you remember, 5-point summary, minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and the maximum. This is the 5-point summary. How to get that for, let's say, each traveler type? So, our starting point will be traveler type. I'll add that in the columns. It's a dimension, so you'll see the traveler type available to you. Then we'll add date in the rows. It's a dimension, but I'll convert it to a measure so that you can see the count. Now, I want to go into the details. So I'll add the date to the detail parameter as well. Marks, the visualization is now automatic. I want to convert it to a circle. I can see there's a distribution here, right? In the details, there are count of dates multiple here and there. But how many count of dates are there for couple leisure, family leisure? What is the distribution of it? So to do that, I go to the y-axis, I right click on it, I add a reference line. And the moment I click add on the reference line, I see a box plot option there. I just click on the box plot, I click on OK, and I have the box plot ready. But we need to do some formatting to show it the right way like I showed you in the PPT. So we go to the size parameter, decrease the size of the circles enough to say that this now looks like a box plot, and I'll show it to the entire view. And now for every category that you can see on your screen, we have business, couple leisure, family leisure, solo leisure, quartiles, minimum value, maximum value for the count of dates available in that traveling type, right? So this is what the difference that we can see up until now. Of course, this chart might not be much useful to you from the analysis perspective, but at least you understood how to create a box chart, and now you can decide which variables you need to use to create box chart at your end in Tableau. So now, in summary, what we have done, we have seen all the charts: bar, histogram, pie, radar, which is very unique. Then we have looked into bubble charts, scatter charts, and box chart at the end. Of course, line and area charts are too simple to even count at this point. But If you know all of these charts, how to create them in Tableau, now the only question left is which variable to choose when you are creating it. Once you do that, you'll start generating insights like a professional, and you'll start communicating insights to a room full of people. I hope you have liked it till up until now. And now we'll dive into a bit more, analytical aspect where we'll calculate certain fields inside Tableau, which will help you compare values in the visualization itself. And you'll see a particular concept called level of detail, LOD, which you might know or you might have searched for before. With that, let's get started. Starting with what are calculation fields? Calculation fields are just the fields that you write as a formula in Tableau. I am assuming in Excel you must have written a basic sum formula or an average formula ever in your life, right? In Tableau, it's the same way. It's just that the formula bar is a bit different. You have to click somewhere else and you have to go somewhere else. That's it. It's called a calculation field because you as a user calculate it. That's the most layman way to say about it. Now, calculation fields essentially provide an option to generate new data from existing data points. Let's say your data set has 10 variables or 10 columns. If you don't know what variables are, columns and variables are used together. So let's say you have 10 variables, out of those 5 are rating scales, and you want to create an 11th variable, which is a combination of 3 or 4 of the variables before. So it is a derived variable. In Tableau, it's called a calculation field. You pull up, you create a calculation field, you write the formula, and boom, it's created, right? So there's an example given here. If you have a height and weight of a sample, you can create a field with which you can calculate a BMI. BMI has 2 inputs, height and weight. So that way you can use Tableau to create a calculated field. Now, types of calculation fields. There are 3 types as you can see on your screen. One is basic calculations. Like I said, sum, average, normal row level of detail. You want to add or separate first and last name of someone. So these are very basic operations, not very complicated. So we term it as basic calculations. Again, it's very easy. So that's why this has been termed separately. Now, second we come to is LOD calculations. LOD, for many people who have not come across this term before, is called level of detail. Whenever you dive into a formula or you go in an analysis mode, you always ask at which level of detail do you want to analyze. Example, we live in India, right? It's part of a continent called Asia. Asia's part of the world, right? Indian average might be higher than the Asian average or lower than the Asian average. Asian average might be higher than the world average or lower than the world average. The level of detail is very different. You keep on moving up from India to the continent to the world, or you keep on moving down. What's the world average? What's the Asian average? And what's the Indian average? And then you can go even a level further. What's, let's say, Delhi's average? What's, let's say, Bangalore's average? Was, let's say, Kolkata's average, right? So you can keep on diving in the cities, then in the rural towns. This is called level of detail. We go some levels up, we go some levels down. In those, we have 3 functions in Tableau with which we use it. One is include. Include is generally used when we are going one level down in the details. Let's say I am looking at an average for Asia and I'm interested in a number for India. But I don't want to include the column which shows me India in my visualization. I'll add an include formula. I'll add an include calculation field instead, which will give me an Indian average just beside the Asian average for me to compare. This is only possible if I use the include function. So that's why it's written. Ensure that a dimension that isn't necessarily present in the view is considered in the calculation. So we include it, but it's hidden from the visualization. Hence the formula include. Now, second one is fixed. Let's say you want one number in the visualization to stay fixed so that all the numbers in that visualization can be compared with that one particular number. In that scenario, you'll use the LOD function called fixed. That's it to it. This is the easiest LOD function to use. Fixed, one column, and you can aggregate it to a particular number. That particular number will help you compare it to the rest of the numbers in the visualization. Third and the last one is exclude. Just like in include, we add a bottom layer, with which we can compare the numbers. In exclude, we exclude one of the layers. So if I'm in Asia and I'm looking at an Asian average and I want to compare it with an Indian average, right? But at the same time, I want the world average to be on the right hand side, but I don't want the world's average to be shown in the visualization. I'll add that using an exclude function. So it removes some of the details from a visualization. I hope you are following the train of thought. Includes, adds a layer, exclude, removes a layer, fixed, stays where it is. So, whatever is the scenario that you are analyzing, whatever is the scenario you want to visualize on, these three functions will help you a lot in building complicated visualizations, and we'll see in the demo how we can use this in some of the scenarios. So now we come to the third calculation field called table calculations. This is nothing, whatever you create on your detail screen or your detail window, you can just transform the values. Example, if you have counts which sum up to a certain number, you can divide it by the whole certain number, that is the grand total of those counts, and get the percentage values in that table itself. It's called a quick table calculation. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but we'll cover it in the demo, so you don't need to worry about it. As per the definition, it says table calculations allow you to transform values at the level of detail of the visualization only. So whatever visualization you're creating, you can transform it then and there. So you don't need to create a field. You can just transform the values in the table that you have created for the visualization itself. Right? Okay, now we move ahead. This is a screenshot that I took it from one of the sessions. So you can see that we'll be creating a customer experience rating by combining the 6 rating variables that we have in the data, and we'll show it to you in the demo. But in case you were interested, this is what a creation field box looks like. So if you click on like create a calculated field on Tableau, this window will pop up and you will have to create a calculated field in that window. Moving ahead, the question that we want to know, why do we need calculation fields? Many at times, we want to create a derived variable which solves our analysis much easier than the variable present in the data. For that purposes, we need to create a new variable that solves that need. Example, we might need to bins certain columns of a rating variable. Let's say people who are answering 6 and 7 on a rating scale of 1 to 7 are considered top box responses. 3, 4, 5 are considered middle box responses, and 1 and 2 are considered bottom box responses. Maybe you create a new variable called rating categorical or rating boxed, right? Where you reduce the number of categories from 1 to 7 and you bring down the number of categories to 3, which is bottom box, middle box, and top box. This way, the analysis can show less variance and can give you the insight in a much better way. You can try that out for any rating scale. If the rating scale has 7 categories, you can reduce it to 2 and 3, and you can find variation which will help you bring insights much faster than if you would have been looking on a scale of 1 to 7. So that is one of the reasons that we use a calculated field. But in theory, what are the reasons? One, data segmentation. You can branch the data out as per your field. If the data has so many categories, maybe you start storing it in a different way so that you can apply that calculated field as a filter later on. If you remember, in the data filter videos, we talked about one of the filters where we created a set. That set is nothing but the calculated field. You can create a set which filters top 5 values in the visualization. That can come into the data segmentation part, because you only want to look at top 5, top 10, top 15. You are segmenting it in a particular way. Then data manipulation. Data manipulation is a very abstract term. It can mean a lot of things. For now, let's just consider whatever you aggregate, sum, average, minimum, maximum, it comes under data manipulation. You are moving the data, you are looking the data from left side, right side, from all the different angles to get the answer you need or to get the insight that fits in your hypothesis. So data manipulation is important, but specifically data aggregation is one that you will use the most in Tableau, especially when you're creating visualizations. Then data filtering. I don't need to stress the importance of data filtering again and again. If you still are a bit doubtful about it, I highly recommend you go back to the second lecture and watch it again. Data filtering is very important to get any kind of insight that you want, and also to be confident about it when you're presenting that insight to any of your strategic decision takers. So be very very careful about what variables you create, what calculated fields you use, because at the end of the day, data filtering will be required. Then, ratios in data. There are many ratios that help us analyze things a bit better. Best example, so if you invest in the markets or if you know about the price of stocks, you know it is a derivative of what they earn, right? But we don't actually just look at the price of a commodity. We sometimes look, okay, it earns X and it trades at Y. So the ratio of the price to earning is very important in finance, right? Similarly, there are some ratios in every business. The KPIs, key performance indicators, you can create some kind of a ratio, which will be important for your analysis and for your tracking purposes. This helps you in that you can create a calculated field which adheres to a particular ratio, and that particular ratio you can keep as a target, or you can track it day to day, or you can actually anchor that this is our baseline or a benchmark that we want to achieve. So calculation fields help in all of these points. Now we will dive into the demo. The question is still the same. You are a data analyst at United Airlines. You are asked to analyze the user experience. So the data set of rating scales is still the same, but now we want to look into specific significant analytical findings, and we'll use calculation fields for the same, which will include basic calculation fields, LOD calculation fields, and table calculations in that. I'll move to the demo. Oh, before moving to the demo, there are three objectives that we want to cover. Three objectives are: we want to analyze passenger reviews for understanding user experience. We want to analyze customer experience with respect to their averages, minimum, and maximum ratings. So, to give you in a very layman language, there is a certain rating that a customer gives, but what was the best rating or the maximum rating any customer gave, or what was the minimum rating what any customer gave, so that we know the variation between it. That you can do in one table itself, right? And we'll use that, and we'll use calculation fields to create that. Third one is analyze country specific customer experience scores. What about one country's score, right? How to use that? We'll talk about in the demo how we can use the country variable, how we can get certain answers, and how we can even use LOD variables to achieve the same. So let's dive into the demo. If you see, I am on Tableau and the data source has been loaded, just like we discussed in the second video. And now we'll start creating the customer satisfaction scores for aircrafts that we can get right now. I'll drag to aircrafts on the rows and I'll get their rating. So the rating I'll put to an average, I'll sort it, and I'll add the labels. Now we need to get a max, min, and a number together. Won't a bar chart get a bit cluttered, right? So I think let's just keep it in a tabular format rather than in a bar format, because we need three columns, and all the three columns should have the average rating, the maximum rating, and the minimum rating. So to do that, I'll remove the average rating from the columns. I'll move ahead and I'll add a calculation field. First would be minimum of average rating, and the formula would be min rating. Okay, I'll add another formula, another calculation field, apologies, max of average rating, and the formula would be max rating. I'll close the bracket, and if you see, these two are created. Now I need to add them in the table. For that, I'll first drop measure names on the columns, and then I'll draw measure values on the text metric. If you see, a lot of measures have been added. I only need 3 of them, right? So we'll remove them one by one. If you see, we can remove it by clicking on the right side. Option is to remove. So we don't need seat comfort, we'll remove. We need the ratings, we'll keep it. We need the minimum and maximum ratings, we'll keep it. We'll remove the ground ratings, food beverages ratings, entertainment. Oh, by the way, this is not the only way to remove a pill from your analysis. You can just drag and drop it out. That is another way to remove something. Okay, so now we have 3. I want the rating to be first, max to be second, and minimum to be third. I want the rating to be an average. I'll change it to an average. I want maximum of the ratings here and minimum of the ratings here. Okay. Cool. Now I'll expand the table so that you can see it at your end. Just a second. Got it. Now, if you notice in the PowerPoint presentation that we talked about, there wasn't a discussion of having a rating, right? We wanted to create a customer experience score where we combined all the ratings and we divided it by a certain number. But right now we didn't do that. We try to skip ahead of it, right? So to do that, you go and create a calculated field and call it customer experience score. Now we have cabin staff service plus entertainment plus food beverages plus ground service plus seat comfort plus value for money, and I enclose all of that in a bracket. Go towards the left side, enclose it into a bracket, go towards the right hand side, and there are 6 variables I've typed. I divide it by 6. I take a basic average of customer experience score. Now this customer experience score is the one I'm interested about, and I want to know the max of this score and the minimum of this score, right? First we created max of rating and minimum of rating. Now I have created a new variable which combines the 6 variables, and now this new variable created, I want to know the max of this new variable and the min of this new variable. So we'll change the formulas that we created earlier. We'll go to the formula max of average rating. We'll click on edit. I want to change it max of customer experience score. Okay. And we'll do the same. We'll click on edit, max of minimum of customer experience score. And if you see, our values have changed in the table already, but our first column is still the average rating, which was the old one. So what to do? Click on customer experience, replace it in place of average rating. Make sure to change it from a sum to an average, and here you can then sort on your averages and then expand the table, and you can see your analysis in front of you. Just remember, whatever your average customer experience score is, it will be less than or equal to your maximum score and greater than or equal to your minimum score. If your average customer experience score for any aircraft is coming higher than your max value, your analysis is incorrect and you should look into the data and all the steps that you have taken up until so far. So this covers one of the topics of calculation field, which was basic calculations. And I'll name the tab as basic calculations. Now we'll move on to tab number 2, in which we'll try to cover fixed LOD. If you remember LOD, level of detail. There were 3 types: include, fixed, and exclude. We'll start with the most easy part first, which is the fixed. In this, we only need to fix one column that we need to get a value for. Now, how is it useful? I'll show you. So we'll add country as a row, and we'll add let's say an aircraft in that same row, right? And if you see, we have countries and aircraft. And now we want to know, let's say, average ratings for that. So we'll convert this sum to an average. I'll sort the data, add labels, and boom, we have the analysis ready for each country and each aircraft. But where is LOD coming into the picture? Now, if you see, we have two columns here, one country and one aircraft. The averages of the ratings depend on these two columns right now. I want to compare these ratings, which depends on two columns, with the ratings that depends on only one column. And that one column for me is country. So I want the analysis for country on the right hand side. So what I'll do here is I'll go to create a calculated field. I call it fixed LOD and I'll do a fixed, and the column which I want to fix is country, and I want an average of rating, and I'll close the curly brackets. It'll do an OK. Now this fixed LOD, I'll add it in front of the columns, and if you see, there are a lot of nulls that we have right now. So I'll filter the aircraft to not contain nulls. So once I do that, you can see on your screen, now I have two columns. One which is dependent on both the columns, country and aircraft, and the averages are for both. So to read, there's a 10-pointer average for Argentina and Boeing 777-200, whereas on an Argentina level, the average is score of 6. Average score is 6. So when I compare this, you can see the second column of the bar chart which we have, it's same for each country. It doesn't change on an aircraft basis. Because we made sure to use the fixed command, we fix this answer, we fix the average to one country. So wherever you apply this column, per country, this value will remain the same. This is how fixed LOD works. I hope you're getting it. If not, I'll say rewind and watch it again, because the steps I did are very simple, but you need to understand how I did it, right? So this is fixed LOD. Now let's move ahead on another sheet and we'll try to do an exclude LOD. Exclude means we'll exclude one of the columns. So with that, I think let's start with the seat type and traveler type. So we have seat type and traveler type. In this, I'll add an average rating, right? And I'll give it a label. And I'll change the sum to an average. So again, we have seat type, traveler type, ratings are based on these two. Now, whatever we achieved with fixed LOD, we can achieve the same result with exclude LOD. And the best part about it is fixed is a static. You are fixing one column. In exclude, you can just say, I want to exclude the traveler. So whatever is left after excluding traveler, that average will be calculated. So it's a dynamic way of interacting with your data. So let's talk about it. Let's create it. I'll create the calculation field. I'll call it exclude LOD. I'll open the curly brackets. I'll type exclude, right? And then we'll have traveler type, average, rating, and I'll close the curly brackets. Now my exclude LOD is set up. And if you see, I'll quickly drag and drop it. And it works a similar way. But if I run this analysis, let's say with a country and traveler, it will still work for the country because it's dynamic. It's only removing the traveler type, right? So try that out on your end. In fact, I can show that to you in the next sheet and call it exclude LOD2. Exclude LOD2. Oops, exclude LOD2. And here what we'll do is, so in the earlier one we did seat type, traveler type. Now we'll do, let's say, a country and a traveler type, right? So, and we'll add the rating, convert it to an average, and sort it down. Show the labels, and now I'll add the exclude LOD on the right. Of course, there will be nulls, so we'll filter the nulls out of the chart. And now you see our average for Argentina was 6, right? So this helps when we are creating certain visualizations. You can use fixed LOD and exclude LOD or both as per your convenience. There is no one way to go about this. Exclude is just a dynamic way of doing things, and fixed is a static way of doing things. So whatever suits you best, but I wanted to show you both of the ways that you can do it. So we talked about exclude, we talked about fixed. What does include do? Good question. I'll type include LOD in the new sheet, and we'll try to create the same seat type, traveler type visualization and add the rating, change it to an average, sort it in a descending order, and add the labels. So this is the average rating at seat type and traveler type. Just like exclude removes a column, include adds a column, right? Exclude removes, include adds, fixed stays where it is. So include is also a dynamic function, but it adds a layer and computes the answer in the backend so that we can see it on our front end. So let's say this is the average rating. I want the exclude LOD here as well. I'll add the include later. I'll remove the average rating, and I can see that at a seat type business class level, I have 3.9341 answer, and at both the levels, I want to include another layer of trip verified. So to do that, we'll create an include LOD calculation field called include LOD. I'll open the curly brackets, include, okay, I'm typing it wrong. It is trip verified, not travel verified. Trip verified, and it's average of rating. I'll close the curly brackets and I'll term it as an OK. Now I have include LOD as well, but it shows me an error. Calculation contains errors. Oh, I didn't add the closed brackets first. So I'll do it an OK now. Now I can add an include LED on the front. And if you see, these averages are different. So this includes the column called trip verified. How to check this is working correctly? Let's add the column trip verified in front of traveler type. And we can see the first column is an exclude one. It will only work for business class. Second column has all the three columns together. So we'll add a rating on an average towards the left hand side so that we get the average answers and compare it with whatever we are getting. And bingo. First column, which is calculating at all the three levels, is the same as the third column with which we calculated and included the third column called trip verified. So when we say include, it includes the column, and by this exercise I can clearly see column number 1 and column number 3 are exactly the same. Column number 2 on the other hand follows an exclude approach, which excludes the column called traveler and only includes trip verified and seat type. So this is how you can use a dynamic way of calculating in the visualization, and this is one of the ways to master the complex visualizations part, where you can compare different numbers in one row or one column and together. Believe me when I say this, LOD, level of detail, include, exclude, and fixed are very complicated functions to work with. But once you master it, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment, and you'll be able to answer with confidence that you can analyze things in a particular way and give confident insights when asked about them. Now, parameters in Tableau lets user change data on the fly so that the dashboards are interactive and customizable. In the introductory video, if you know, we mentioned that Tableau is very, very good in terms of letting the user decide what they want to see. It's interactive. User can select something from one drop down or one cell, and it changes as per their selection. How does this happen? It is through the power of parameters, right? So this is where the parameters will help, and your user will feel that they are creating an insight out of the dashboard that you have created. And believe me, it's one of the best feelings when you figure out a new permutation and combination that gives you the insight on which you can take a decision that helps you and your firm, right? As mentioned, this helps in quickly exploring different scenarios and insight from the same data set. Everybody in a room won't look at the data the same way you will. So, to give everybody a lens that they can use to look into, interactive visual dashboard is very, very useful in Tableau. And we'll move ahead and see how you can make something like that. An example with the screenshot is on your screen. You can see this is a line chart, and on the top right, there is a pick a metric option. Don't worry, we'll see it in the demo. But after creating the parameter, you'll be able to dynamically select a metric, and the chart will adjust to that metric, and you can see the trend of that particular metric. So it is powerful, and believe me, when once you see it, you'll be like, whatever we have learned up until now, this has been the best one of it. So after we will go through the parameters, we'll touch briefly on advanced visualizations. Now that we are skilled enough, we know the filters, we know the visualizations, we know parameters, we know calculated fields, we know sets, we know how to format a bit as well. I think it's the right time to talk about advanced visualizations. In advanced visualizations, we can consider something like a tree map or a word cloud, or in your current visualizations, adding calculated fields which changes the color due to a certain condition. Example, you have ratings, average ratings of aircraft from 5.6 to let's say 9.7, right? But you only want to color the ones which are below 6. So you can give them a red color showing that these ratings are really, really poor and we need to improve them. The visualization will clearly, pop out, and you will see week over week or month over month which aircrafts are getting a lower value. So that's where this formatting trick will help, and it will come under the topic of advanced visualization. So just to give you a brief definition of it, standard Tableau visualizations are good, but at times your analysis requires an advanced visualization which can justify your analytical standpoint. So whenever you feel there is something that you want to communicate in a complex way, but it should echo in the room so that everybody understands that yes, you are indeed making sense. In that case, advanced visualizations is the key, and you should make an effort and put some efforts in the advanced visualization to make sure that we move ahead. Now that we have discussed in theory what are parameters and how advanced visualizations are important to add to your skill set, now we'll dive into the demo. Before we open Tableau, there are a few slides we should go through. One is the problem statement, that you have to identify trends and patterns in the individual rating components that we have in the analysis. Up until now, you must have seen in the CSV, there are various rating questions asked to the user around food, around cabin, around ground operations, and their overall rating as well. So you have to find some patterns in the analysis and at least make a visualization out of it that gives you a clear indication of what is going on. So that is the problem statement. What are the objectives of this exercise? Objectives are you should get detailed ratings and like the individual components. In this, we'll use a parameter because we have just learned it, so it will be the best time to apply it. And as it's mentioned, we have to use parameters for this. And we'll just touch advanced visualizations, mainly a tree map and the word cloud, because these are the visualizations which I feel one should know in this age right now. And if you know how to do this in Tableau, I think you'll stand apart from the crowd right now in this industry. With that, let's dive into Tableau. If you see on my screen right now, I'm on Tableau. The data set is connected. It's a new sheet. And since we'll be using the parameter exercise, I'll name this sheet parameter. Now, we need to first calculate an overall rating because I see 6 ratings here: cabin staff service, entertainment, food beverages, ground service, seat comfort, and value for money. So we need to create a composite score. To do that, we'll create a calculated field and I'll call this overall rating. Remember, we did discuss how to create calculated fields in the previous videos. If you don't remember how to do it, don't worry, just go back, revise that chapter again, and come back when you feel confident and then continue the journey here. In overall rating, what we'll do is we'll type cabin staff service, and on the left hand side, we'll open a bracket, then we'll add entertainment, then add food beverages, then ground service, seat comfort, and value for money. And I'll close the brackets and I'll divide it by 6 because there are 6 variables and I'm trying to create a composite average of these 6 variables. So a new variable called overall rating has been created. Now it's the time to create a parameter. Now, what to do, how to create a parameter? Well, when we created a calculated field, we didn't know that either, right? But now we do know. So to create a parameter, it's the same process again. Just go on the data pane and you will see just below create calculated field, there's an option called create parameter. The moment you click that, a pop-up comes up. In that pop-up, the name is create parameter. We'll name it pick a metric. We'll keep the data type as a string. Current value, I actually want to give it a list because we have 6 or I think 7 parameters now, 7 variables now, including the overall rating. So I would like to put them all in a list and then, create a dynamic variable out of it. Don't worry if you feel lost, just follow it step by step and you'll see why we are doing what we are doing. So now I want a list. What values do I want to show in that list? Now this is where it's a bit manual. You will have to type it out. So first one is overall rating. Second one is cabin staff service. Third one is entertainment. Fourth one is food, beverages, then ground service. While I'm typing that, you can see it has to exactly match the variable name, else the parameter once selected, when you drop down and select it, it will fail, it will not pipe in the data. So the name should be exactly the same as the names in your data pane. So do remember that. Next is seat comfort. Final one is value for money. And your parameter is created, right? Now, in this parameter created, I'll go, and by the way, before I move any ahead, parameters are always created at the bottommost of your data pane. So once you create it, it will be at the bottommost and you can see a parameter that's popped up in the bottom left of your screen. You'll go to the right and you'll click on show parameter. The moment you do that, on the right hand side, on the top right corner, you can see our parameter visible with a drop down calling overall rating, cabin staff service, all the variables that we want. Now let's start making the visualization. So what do we want to check? We want to check the year, the date in columns 2016 to 2023. Perfect. Now I want to toggle my parameter in the rows column. But wait, I don't have a variable for that and I cannot put a parameter in the rows column. I can put a parameter alongside, but I cannot put it in the rows. So how do I do that? Well, to add something in the rows, we have to create a calculated field which pipes in the parameter. If you feel lost, don't worry. I was as well when I was learning about it, but I'll do it in front of you to make you sure that it's easy. It's just you have to see it in your own way and learn it at your own pace. So what I'll do is I'll go there, I'll create a calculated field, I'll call it dynamic field, dynamic variable, right? And here we'll put a case when statement. So first I'll write case and I'll call my parameter, pick a metric, and then my when statement starts. So case when overall rating, then overall rating. So whenever I am selecting overall rating from my parameter, I want the overall rating column to be piped in this calculated field. Similarly, when cabin staff service, then cabin staff service. When entertainment, then entertainment. Now you see, this is a bit of a tiring effort. I have to type everything out. So let's be smart about it, right? Why to do so much of typing when you can be smart and escape it? So when I type a next when, I know the next one I have to add is food beverages. I'll not put the quotes behind it. I'll just add food beverages, then remove the square brackets and add the quotations to it. This avoids any spelling mistake, right? And makes it fast as well. So after food beverages, it's ground service, ground service. When seat comfort, seat comfort, then seat comfort. When value for money, this is the last one, I hope. Value for money, then value for money. And we'll end this calculated field, which was quite an effort. And now we are done. Now, what do we said we wanted to do? We wanted to add that dynamic field on the rows, right? So this dynamic variable, I'll drag and put it in the rows. Now I see a line chart has popped up. I'll put this to entire view, add labels to it. Now I like an area chart a bit better, so I'll change this to area. Okay, and sum of this dynamic variable doesn't really make sense. It's a composite variable of rating questions. It should be an average. I'll convert it to average, and I like what I see. And now we'll test our visualization. It is a parameter driven visualization. I'll change this to cabin staff service, and boom, we see a new visualization pop up. I'll change this to entertainment. Bingo, it's working. You have created a dynamic visualization in Tableau. Believe me when I say this, it is used extensively in dashboards for a lot of giant clients because the space is limited on the screen. Every time someone important sees the screen, the real estate is limited. So as much amount of data you can put in there at the mercy of the person digesting the data, the more important your work as a developer is there, right? So do make sure that you learn these parameters really well, because once you unearth the your power as a parameter, it will take you to places, believe me. While I'm saying that, I notice when I go to ground services, the chart is not working. Can you guess why? It was a lot of manual effort to create this. So in this manual effort, you'll see there is some spelling mistake I have done. What's the spelling mistake? The variable is called ground service, not ground services, right? So I'll go to the parameter, I'll edit, and I'll call it ground service, and I'll do an OK, and bingo, now our chart is working. So even if you make a mistake in parameters, you'll get to know it if you toggle across every variable you have added in it. This is one of the reasons I think everyone should QC whatever they are making, and everybody should test every visualization that you make. I'm so glad that this happened right now, right? So in this case, the parameter is working good, and now we can move ahead with a word cloud or a tree map and show you how it is made. I'll add a new tab. In this tab, let's just look at place. So I'll drag the place variable to color, and I'll see that there are so many places. Of course, these are countries, because if you remember in one of the early videos, we made a relationship between place column and the country column. So place is definitely a country, right? So after adding place in the color, I'll drag this by pressing Control and click, and it to size. Now size cannot be a dimension, it has to be a quantitative number so that the size changes as per that. I'll change it to a count, and then I'll drag the place variable again with control click to label. This on your screen right now is a tree map, and you can see the data we have has a lot of data from place called United Kingdom. Second most data is from a place called United States. If you like this chart, you can stop right here. It's a tree map. But what if you like word cloud even more? Well, it's very easy. You don't need to work hard for it. Go to the marks panel. Here, change this automatic to text, and bingo, you have the word cloud immediately there, right? So whatever is your preference, whatever you like, you can work around, you can search around, and Tableau will make it possible. It just takes a couple of minutes to turn data into a beautiful visualization once you know the power of all the variables or the power of all the features that the Tableau gives you in your hand. And this is just the Tableau public version, which is free to use, free to learn, and you can even make beautiful visualizations to gather insights. Up until now, we have covered all the visualizations that we wanted to. In this chapter, we discussed the parameters, how parameters can be used in visualizations, what are advanced visualizations, why do we need it, how to make a word cloud, or when to make a word cloud, because you first need to have a categorical variable where you can place it in colors and place it in size and place it in a way that a word cloud gets generated by turning on the marks panel from automatic to text. We'll cover dashboarding, but as usual, before we jump into the demo and show you how you create a basic dashboard, first we'll go through some definitions, some basic theory, so that you're not lost when you look into the dashboards. Introduction to dashboards. What is a dashboard? A dashboard gives you an opportunity to collectively analyze all the views that you create in one place. So all the Tableau sheets that we have created up until now in the course, you can utilize that as views and add them in a dashboard. It enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of navigating through various analytical standpoints simultaneously. You have worked really hard to create some calculated fields, some filters, some parameters. Dashboarding is the place all of this will flourish and work together. A best example with that would be analyzing month to date sales performance index on various parameters and categories. Month to date sales. Every day you will see the sales popping up. So it will be a dashboard that everybody can digest daily or on a monthly basis and take decisions as per the frequency of your data. So dashboards are really important, and I hope you get an idea what I'm saying. If you don't have an idea about the dashboards, there's a snippet on your screen on the left hand side. It's from tableau.com's official website, so you can check that snippet out there as well. But you can take an idea that there are multiple data points, so many data numbers that a business user can just see, crunch, digest, and then take a decision. Now, moving ahead, we will talk about dashboarding checklist now. There is a checklist that you should keep in mind while making a dashboard, which is an industry standard. We don't want you to create a dashboard that people say like, what's that, right? You really want to make sure that you're following certain principles, certain directions while making your first or nth dashboard, right? First one, objective and target. Objective of the analysis must always cater to the target audience. Who are you showing the dashboard to? Who is the audience? You should always know your audience. Example, an analysis must address the requirements or solutions that were intended to solve by the analysis with respect to the concerned party. This is the definition, but what it means in layman is whoever you're presenting the analysis to, whoever you're making the dashboard for, it should address the requirements and solutions. Why will a client pay you to make a dashboard that they don't find it useful? It should address the requirement. It should address their solutions, right? If they want a particular solution or a particular insight, that's why they are getting the dashboard made. So keep that in mind that the objective and target should be fulfilled with your dashboard. Next one, important details. A universal start from top left corner behavior can be put into your dashboard. Sorry, I fumbled a bit there. A universal start from the top left corner behavior can be put into your dashboard. That means of the user who is seeing your dashboard, his or her eyes should immediately go to the top left of the dashboard and then move it from there. So if your dashboard is not attracting the user on the top left side in the initial second, that means you're doing something wrong and maybe you should spend some more time on your dashboard. Make sure that the most important detail or view on your dashboard is placed appropriately in the visible region. That will ensure that the most important metric or the most important KPI is in front of the viewer or the user whenever they open the dashboard and they can analyze it. Next, design, display and layout. You must optimize your display layout and design according to the requirements. Now, these requirements can be a back and forth between the client and you, or it can be a back and forth between some team you're working with and you, or your manager and you. It all depends in the situation you are in and the way you want the dashboard to be perceived and looked into. You might need to present the dashboard on various other devices such as iPads or mobiles other than a normal computer screen. So you need to take that into consideration while you're developing the dashboard. Automatic adjustment of layout is another option that can cater to this requirement, and Tableau does give this feature to you as well. We won't explore it in this course, but you can check it out whenever you get the time. Now, view limitations. If your dashboard has, let's say, 10 or 20 views, that can be a little bit too much, right? You should make sure that your dashboard is not overwhelming for the person who is reading into it. Because at the end of the day, if they're not able to take away something from it, it's not really that good a dashboard, is it? So, when you're making a dashboard, you need to make sure that you limit the amount of views that leads to better visibility and understanding. For a more detailed and more connected dashboard, you can make multiple dashboards that give multiple takeaways to the user rather than incorporating all of that into one dashboard and making it overcrowded. I hope you understand why we need to make sure that dashboards are impactful and give some insights to the user who is reading it. Interactivity. Well, we started this course saying that Tableau is an interactive tool. So your dashboard should be interactive. You should add in filters, slices, parameters so that the viewer can change multiple things about it and analyze data. If you are not doing that, you are not harnessing the power that Tableau gives you in your hands, and you really need to improve your dashboarding skills. So please make sure that you are harnessing the power, adding filters, adding slicers, and giving the user as many options as they require to slice and dice the data and digest the insights and take good strategic decisions. With that, I think we cover the checklist. If these 6 points you have noted and you'll take care while developing a dashboard, I think your dashboards will be ready to meet the industry standards and you'll be able to present them in a more confident manner. Now we'll move on to the demo. Please note, in this demo, we will be assigned as a data analyst for United Airlines, just like the previous assignments. But in this assignment, our task would be to formulate a dashboard to analyze views created in your analysis using visualizations, filters, and calculations, etc. So I'll show you some of the tabs or views that have been created by me offline, and we'll try to organize it in a dashboard and show you a few of the formatting features that we can cover in this short demo. What will be the objectives of this demo? In this demo, we'll consolidate the views in one dashboard. We'll try to give it a presentation flavor like color scheme, alignment, formatting, so that it appeals to someone's eyes. Navigating the dashboard. Now, when you present a dashboard to someone, they should be able to navigate it by themselves. You should not give a huge big instruction manual for that. So to make it ease of navigating, that's what we'll try to achieve. And the fourth one, interactiveness. Tableau is an interactive tool and we need to make it interactive with adding slicers, filters and parameters. I hope this helps, and now we'll jump right into the demo. So now I'm on the Tableau screen. You'll see, unlike the other videos, this screen is not empty. This screen already has a lot of tabs made beforehand. Now the reason is we are not learning to make sheets or views anymore. Now we have graduated enough to learn to make dashboards. In this we'll create a brand new fresh dashboard in which I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes to show you some of the formatting tricks or some of the functions that Tableau has. And then I'll quickly show you that if you spend 30 minutes on it, how will the dashboard look? And then when you spend an hour on it, how will it look again? As a rule, please remember, you cannot escape time. More time spent, the more beautiful the dashboard will be. It's just a game that you have to play with whoever you're working with. So spend a lot of time, make sure that you learn the formatting skills, and make sure that you make the dashboard reach such a place where you feel, wow, this is something I really wanted to create. So with that, I'll go to a sheet called Fresh Dashboard. If you see, half of the sheet is white and half of the sheet is gray. Now the dashboard is the white sheet. I don't want that. I want the whole sheet to be white so that I can play around, right? So what you can do is, on the left hand side panel, you can see there's a parameter called size. You can go there and uncheck this maximum size option, and you see, boom, immediately the white sheet gets expanded, and now you have the whole screen as a real estate that you can explore. Once you have done that, you'll notice just below the sheet option, there are 4 or 5 sheets that we created that will help us in dashboard development, majorly for the views. Again, these sheets you will be able to develop yourself. So whatever sheets you have, you can make a dashboard with that. For the purpose of this video, I'll be using these sheets that I created offline before recording this. Now, you see below in the objects, there is an option called tiled and floating. If you select on tiled and you bring one map here, it immediately snaps onto the grid and it sizes itself. That's because the function or the option of tiled creates tiles on there which help with formatting and alignment. But this is a bit, something I don't prefer. I like to play around with it, and I'll say let's keep it floating just to show you how it works. So if it's floating, I'll click on the map and put it here, and you see I can float this chart anywhere on the whole real estate that I have on the screen, right? Similarly, the filter that I have or the parameter that I have, I can float it around anywhere. So that's what we mean by tiled versus floating, right? Now we have one of the maps. Let's find a place for it. But wait, why are we just jumping on to adding views? We should have a title of the dashboard, right? So for the title of the dashboard, you can create a sheet called British Airways, right? Change the header and then right click on the header and go on format title. Once you go on format title, you can change its shading so that it becomes, a green background, change the font type. To change the font type, you can again right click and go on edit title. You can change the font type, the font size, bold, italic, underline, the color of the font, alignment of the font, etc. Once that is done, you go to the fresh dashboard, you drag and drop your sheet or your view, and you can just use that, right? So this is my title of the dashboard. Cool, right? Now there are some summary points, if you notice, that are average rating, average cabin service, all of the averages of all the variables possible in a data set. Let's add that as a strip on the top so that it looks a bit beautiful. So I'll go to fresh dashboard again. The summary sheet I'll add on the side of British Airways. I'll align it a bit and I'll push a bit British Airways a bit down, and then I'll click on here and stretch it. Don't worry, you can go to more options and fit this. So if you go and move this down, I'm moving the map down right now. Okay. And yeah, so now you see we have the ratings on the top, right? Now we have to arrange this map. Let's keep it on the right hand side, stretch it out a bit, Perfect. Place it here. Let's keep all the filters and slices on the left hand side so that we can refer to it whenever we want. So that's one. Now let's bring the month chart here. It is average ground service by month. There will be some filters here, which will be action of place. We can drag this to the left as we mentioned, but this seems too long, right? Let's go to more options and make it a drop down instead. And you see, we save a lot of space by just doing that. Hence, I would like to say, explore around the options, click on every drop down you can get. You will find a lot of functions on Tableau. Addressing them in one course altogether is not humanly possible, but if you have an exploratory mentality, you will be able to explore a lot of things in Tableau which you will just gain a muscle memory out of. You will just know it's there because it's a basic feature, right? So I'll just place it here, move it around, and here I'll just move the graph a bit. So now we have two graphs added. Let's see if we can add another filter. Let's add average selected metric. Okay, another filter that we have added. Perfect. Let's add another filter. No, I think this should look good. Now the last sheet that we have is the aircraft data. If you see, this is a long visualization that I have created. I'll stretch it up a bit so that it covers the remaining real estate. And we have a decent dashboard. Now I'll look into the filters and I can actually add a month date filter. No, this doesn't look good. Let me see what other filters are there. So we'll go to the filters, action place we have already added, aircraft group, average selected metric we have, month date, aircraft group, let's add that. So these are the aircraft groups that we created for our analysis and you can check on that. So if you look, we have added 3 to 4, all the visualizations that we have in our sheet. Of course, you will have a lot of options since we have made a lot of visualizations over the course of many videos that we had. So now what do we do after we place them on the sheet? Well, if you place them on the sheet, you see there's an option called use as filter. You click on that. Then you go to the next chart and you click on use as filter. Then on the third visualization and you click on use as filter. Now, why did I do that? Interactivity. Like I said, you should always remember that the user wants interactivity. Let's see, I want to see the overall rating for my dashboard with the data. I click on overall rating and all the graphs change. If I only want to look for food, well, the graphs change as well and the tooltips show me very good answers. Let's say I only want to look reviews for food or ratings for food in a country of United States. I click on the map on the United States geographical area and all the data points get filtered for United States, right? Data filtering. Again, if you don't understand data filtering, go back to the video. It's really important. If you don't understand creating a calculated field, go back to the video. It's really important. All of the things that we have discussed up until now in the previous videos, they all culminate into here. This is your Avengers Endgame, right? It all stops here. So this dashboard, if you click back on the US geography, it ends here. And then when you click outside, you have everything that you need. Now, that doesn't mean that our work is over. This dashboard is nowhere near the industry standards that we can present to any client or to any manager that we are working for. So you need to make it beautiful. Right now, we have spent hardly 10 minutes on it. If you spend 30 minutes on it, it will look a bit better with some better action filters that you can use, right? And if you see, now there is no scroller on the top because I spent some time. I learned how to remove the scroller from top. Now, if you spend even more time on it, after 1 hour, it will look something like this, where you add a line to it. British Airways is much more prominent on the top. The ratings are much more visible. The graphs are much better aligned. And the more hours you spend on it, the more beautiful it gets by the time you put in. So now it's all time and effort. The data visualizations part is done. Put in the time, put in the effort, make a beautiful dashboard, and please, whatever room you go into, so that you can achieve whatever you want with the tool knowledge that you have. So, this is a case study for a company called Apollo Max. It's a leading pharmaceutical company and oversees the description of its distribution of its drugs through multiple wholesale distributors. So, the data is centered around wholesale distributions. To optimize the performance of its sales team, Apollo Max seeks to conduct a comprehensive analysis of its sales data. So, the data you have is of sales and it is centered around wholesale distributors. I hope that is very clear. The objective is to generate a high-level report that highlights overall sales figures and key performance indicators, also known as KPIs in the industry, providing a clear overview of the sales team effectiveness and areas for improvement. So whatever analysis you do, we want to highlight overall sales figures. So the sales related KPIs will be highlighted, and we should also show an overview of team's effectiveness and their areas for improvement. So basically, it should be centered around sales and where the sales team are moving now. Okay, moving ahead. This is the dataset information that is provided. Number of rows are 254,000, 18 columns. The main columns here are distributor. As I mentioned, the data is centered around a distributor. It's a wholesale distributor sales data. So the column is distributor, customer name, who is buying, city, country, location of the customer. Lat long will help us draw a map in Tableau so that you can look at the geographical countries that the data is provided for. Channel, what is the channel the drug was distributed in? The sub-channel, the subcategory of the channel which we just talked about. The product name, which product was sold. Product class, which class of the product was it? Was it an analgesic or something else? Right? There are multiple classes of pharmaceutical products, and there are multiple teams selling multiple classes. So you will have an opportunity to see which team is selling which class of drugs better than the other. And we do have a visualization for that as well. Similarly, quantity, price, sales, month of the sale, year of the sale, so that you can make some visualizations on a monthly level or on a yearly level. Your choice. Then name of the sales rep. Which sales rep made the sales, so that if you want to see who are the top performing sales rep, you can create that visualization. Then manager of the sales team. Manager of the sales team is the one who we would like to track and see which manager is performing well, because if the manager is performing well, that means the sales team is performing well. These are correlated metrics. And of course, the sales team name. So the latter end of the columns relate more towards the sales team, the name, manager, when the sale happened, year, month, and the former end of the columns are related to the wholesale distribution, the product class, the product name, etc. So before we move ahead from here, open up the CSV file at your end, look through these columns, try to absorb the data and understand it, so that once you open Tableau and once you start making visualizations, you don't have an ounce of a doubt before even moving your hands on the mouse or on the touchpad to work. Having knowledge about the data is of utmost importance in any industry, let alone healthcare, because the more you understand data, the more you will be able to derive insights once the visualization is in front of you. With that, we move to the next slide, and we'll have to do a demo from now on. Before we move to the demo, as always in every video, we tell the objectives, right? Now we don't have an objective. The objective is to finish the case study. But we have key metrics of analysis. To finish this case study, you have to analyze 5 key metrics. And if you want something else more than 5 these, your choice. Go ahead and create more visualizations so that we can add them in the dashboard later. And even you can add them in the dashboard later as per your choice. So the 5 key metrics of analysis that we expect you should add in your dashboard are as follows. Sales by product category. The product category, the product class, if you remember the column, you need to know what are the sales by product category, so that you can see in your data and aggregate that number and create a chart out of it. Sales flow analysis, sales by channel and sub channel. What amount of sales are going through one channel and how is it distributing through its sub channels. You can create a graph out of it or a visualization out of it and then add it to the dashboard. When I say add it to the dashboard, it's a given because all of the metrics at the end have to flow into a dashboard for any CXO or any manager to review, right? Then demographic analysis. Since we have lat long in the data, by lat long I mean latitude and longitude, we should utilize that and create a region wise chart and add sales numbers to that region chart. So that will be one part of it. Then sales performance by manager. Manager, if he's performing well, that means the sales team is performing well. It's correlated. So if we have 4 to 5 or 6, 7 managers, which manager is performing well? Which manager is not performing well? Do we need to do something about that? A visualization will surely help in that matter. Then sales by sales team and product class. Since we have name of the sales team as the last variable in the data set, we can use that to see which sales team is performing the best and in which product class they are performing the best, right? If you think about it, there are many variables which can work in many ways possible. Product class, the sales going on. Product sales, or sales by manager, which manager is performing better sales. Then which sales team is performing. Maybe there is only one sales team driving the growth for one of the managers. Maybe there are multiple sales teams doing above average sales. The scope of visualizations here is endless, and I encourage you to explore as many possibilities as you want. These 5 metrics of analysis are just a starting point to get you hands-on on Tableau. If you want any other metrics, please write them down and create a dashboard of your own. With that, we'll move to the demo. Up until now, if you have any doubt in the course on the data filtering, calculation fields, types of graphs, creating a parameter, or in dashboarding, please go back and watch those videos again so that you are clear in how to proceed and you have clear conceptual clarity. Once you are sure that you are ready to move ahead, then start with the case study and move ahead with confidence. With that, we move to the Tableau screen. Now you can see on my screen that I'm on a fresh new Tableau. I have taken the liberty of naming the tabs because we won't be able to jump back and forth to the PowerPoint slide. So we have to create 5 key metrics: sales by product category, sales by channel, sales by region, manager performance, and sales team performance. I have also loaded the data set that you will get in your folder. So this Tableau is ready to go, right? So first graph you want to create is sales by product category. Here we have a column called product class. We'll add that in the columns and we'll add sales in the rows. The moment I add that, I see that analgesics, antibiotics, there are sales here in millions, right? When you load it, it won't be in the millions. You have to right click on it, go to format and go to fields, sum of sales. Don't click on the axis, but click on the panes. And here you have to change automatic to a number custom. It is important because if you keep it as automatic, you'll see there's a huge number which doesn't really help you or help the user at all. So you go to the pane, go to the numbers, number custom. You don't want any decimal, or you can keep it as number custom, decimal 0, display units millions. That way you can see it rounds off, adds millions to the numerical number, and now you can clearly see what kind of sales we have by product class. So the first chart is more likely done. If you want to customize it, add some colors, you can do that, but I recommend this is the base what you should follow. Now, sales by channel, our second key metric. Channel. Okay, let's close the formatting pane. We'll have the channel. Yeah, here's the channel. We go to the columns and we add sum of sales in the rows. And we see that we have 2 channels, hospital and pharmacy. And here also the formatting of millions has been applied. I see there is 2 decimal places here. Let's remove that. So to do that, I'll right click, move to format. I'll actually click outside again. I'll right click here, move to format so that it does for the entire set. On the formatting pane, click on sum of sales, go to the pane, numbers, number custom, remove the decimal to the zero, shift from automatic to number custom, and in display units, move to millions. Once you do that, here you have channel sales. But is this good enough? I don't think so. If we are exploring sales by channel, let's go one level deeper. We have a sub channel, right? It'll hardly take us 20 seconds to add that. So let's just do that. We added sub channel and we can see both channels. Now in hospital, we can divide the sales into government and private, and similarly in pharmacy, we can divide into institutional and retail. The color is same, but we are using 2 levels deeper. We are going 2 levels deeper. Let's add some formatting here. The sub channel that we added, let's add it to the color. Okay, I see there are 4 different categories. I can see on the legend that we have government, institution, private, and retail. Now this looks a bit better with the millions also. I can see that retail in pharmacy has the highest amount of sales, and in terms of hospital, government hospital has the highest amount of drug sales. So sales by product category, done. Sales by channel, done. Now let's move to sales by region. If you remember, we had a latitude longitude field in the data set, and you can see it on the data pane. Let's drag and drop that in rows and columns. And on the marks tab, it will be set to automatic, but do set it to a map, right? And then you will have a country that you can, country, you can drive that to color. And boom, you see Germany and Poland are highlighted. These are the countries available. But the chart is not about just geography, right? You need sales. Where do you get sales from? Same way we got for the last 2. We take the sales, we add it in the label. Again, too huge a number, not good enough. Fields, sum of sales on the pane, numbers, convert to custom, remove the decimals, display units, 2 millions. And here we are done with the sale numbers for the country level. So now we can move ahead to 4th key metric, manager performance. Tracking manager performance, let's try something new. I mean, we can track it with a bar chart or a column chart. Let's try a pie chart where we show percentage sales made by the manager, just to add some variety to it, right? So I'll convert the marks pane to a pie. I'll add the manager name, manager, to the color, then sum of sales to the size. I'll make it the entire view so that I have the sale numbers, and at the same time we'll add the manager to the label so that we know which manager did what, and then the sum of sales to the label as well. Now again, this number is too huge. I want to see percentages. If 100 units were sold, or if 100 units of sales were made, what percentage sales did Brittany, Alicia, Tracy, and James do? How to do that? Table calculations. We have been doing it all along in the videos, but we didn't give it a name, right? This is the name of these calculations, quick table calculations. So we go to the sum of sales, quick table calculations, percent of total, and boom, we can see Brittany Bold, one of the managers, did 31% of sales. That means all the others have done less than 25% of sales. So it's really nice. Now let's move to the final key metric, sales team performance. We have seen the manager's performance. We have seen sales performance in every region, by channel, and by product category. Last variable, sales team performance. Now let's first do the product class. I want to see sales team performance in each product class. Maybe one of the teams has cracked one class open, so that it will be good to know which team is lagging behind in which class, so that we improve that team by training, right? This will be something that the client will be interested in. So let's try that. We add product class to the columns, sum of sales to the rows, and we see a bar chart pop out. Now, I don't want a bar chart. Let's convert it to a circle. And since it's sales team performance, I'll add sales team to the color, right? And I'll make this an entire view, not just collapsed in itself. Now I can see different teams, what did they do? Let's add some data labels. As usual, the number is too huge to even look at. We right click, we go to format, we click on fields, go on sum of the sales, pane, and then in default we go to numbers. We switch from automatic to number custom, reduce the decimal places, and convert the display units to a million. And now I can clearly see what's happening in each of the sales teams. I can give a filter of sales team too, just in case anyone wants to be adventurous and just wants to see what kind of a, let's say you only want to see one sales team at one point in time. Let's give user an option, because Tableau is all about interactivity. So interactivity starts at home and in your own dashboards, right? So sales team Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, sales team on the filter Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. If you deselect Alpha and Bravo, you only see the sales for Charlie and Delta. So you can compare the both. I can clearly see that Charlie team is lagging behind in most of the categories. Maybe they need some improvement. Maybe Delta team can help you. What are they doing differently that the Charlie team is not, right? Maybe they have poorer territories. Maybe their strategy is wrong, or maybe the strategy can be improved by just reallocating some of the training time. There are innumerable amount of variables that you can think about, but you are not the decision takers. You'll show this data to a decision taker and they will take decision on this information. So I select all of the sales team to show you the data, and this is your final key metric visualization. Now we move to creating a dashboard. Don't worry, there are innumerable ways to create a dashboard. If you feel out of these 6 visualizations, you can create something better or something that appeals more to create a decision out of, feel free to run with that one and add that to the dashboard. As per me, as per my experience, whatever I have seen in the dashboard community up until now, I have created a template that I feel will suit best to this product kit scenario, and these 6 charts will fit beautifully in that. So I'll add the tab called dashboard. If you see, we have the dashboard here, and in the dashboard video, we talked about what tiled and floating means. Now, in your project folder, in your case study folder, there will be a designed photo or a designed document that you can upload to Tableau on which you can add your visualizations. That has been created on a tool called Figma. It is a designer tool. I encourage you to learn about it, at least have some basic understanding of it so that you can design a basic background on Figma. If you don't know what Figma is, don't worry, I'll show you what I have created, and you can start learning it on the back end so that you can create at least some basic visualizations, sorry, not visualizations, basic backgrounds or templates that you can add to your visualizations. So we are on the dashboarding screen now. We'll keep it tiled because I want my design to get stuck wherever I promote it or wherever I upload it. So I'll click on an image, double click, and I'll insert image. I'll choose. It's called untitled. I'll click OK, and it is here. Now, if you see, it's coming up half of the screen. Why? Because the size is half. I'll go to the size panel, uncheck the maximum size, and I can immediately see my dashboard elongate, right? Perfect. But still my design is stuck on the top left corner. I need to center it. Let's do some more formatting. How to center it? So we'll right click here. We'll first do a fit image, and then I'll click on a center image. Now the design that I created on Figma, I have created some boxes, some rectangles, where I'll show some tilings, where I'll show some numbers, some graphs, and something else. So this, my template is ready, because I believe this is one of the good templates that is acceptable in the industry. Now, let's start adding something, shall we? Sales by product. Before adding, by the way, let's convert from tile to floating because I would like to resize and format it at my will, as you would have seen in the previous video. The moment I move a view onto the dashboard, I notice a big flaw in my visualization. That my design is on a light green color, but my views are on a white background color. This doesn't go well at all. I need to make sure that the views I have or the visualizations I have are on the same base color. So what do I do? I cross all the views. I go back to each of the views. I'll come back to sales or product category. Right click on the detailed panel. Go to format. Go to color, default, worksheet color, and I'll select the same color on which I made the design on. Similarly, I'll go to sales by channel, same exercise. Right click, format, color, default, worksheet, and the color I made the design on. And I'll do it for remaining 4 worksheets, and I'll keep showing you what am I doing so that you get a habit of it as to how to do it. Click, worksheet, color, move ahead. Manager performance. Click, format, color, worksheet, and the color we built the design on. Finally, sales team performance. Right click, format, color, worksheet, select your color, and move ahead. Now we come back to the dashboard, right? So in the past 5 minutes, you would have noticed it's not an easy task to build a dashboard from scratch. It takes a lot of effort. And believe me, as a lead in my industry, I can see that it takes a lot of back and forth between team leads, managers about the designs of the dashboard. How should something look? How should something not look? So we really need to make sure that whatever we are designing, each team is aligned on that and each team knows what we are doing. Now, let's add a chart to the dashboard. So this is chart number 1. And now I see the color is complementing it well, right? I'll elongate it a bit, right? Sales by product category, and I can see, okay, this looks well. This is a good start, right? Let's add sales by channel. Perfect. We'll add it here. I'll elongate it again. Great. Sales by region. Let's add region somewhere here. For now, let's just remove the channel and add sales by region on the top. I'll move it around a bit. Select from here, move around, reduce the size, increase the size, make sure it fits the design boxes, and we're good. Now the manager by sales performance. Let's add it here. It's a pie chart, so it should fit beautifully on the top left, on the top right corner. We add it here, expand it, and this works quite well. Manager performance, sales by region, sales by channel, sales by product category, right? Now, what are these 3 boxes for? These 3 look tiles to me, right? We can just add certain numbers here. So for that, let's create a sheet called total unique counts. What total unique counts? Let's say total unique counts for distributors, right? Or actually, let's go back to the data source and see which column we can use to create total unique counts. Distributors, we have not many. Maybe we can create product name. Let's create a product name distinct count. Okay, let's go to total unique counts, product name. Let's add it to text. Let's convert it to a measure. and take a distinct count of it. So we have 240, and I would like to keep it in an entire view, center align it. So I'll right click, I'll format, fields, count distinct, product name, number is fine, and I'll try again. Format, fields, count distinct, product name. Yep, here is the alignment. Rows, pane, default. Let's keep it at the middle. Let's keep it in the middle. Let's keep it in the middle. Let's get this header in the middle as well. Format title. Actually, edit title, not format title. I'll select it, center align, keep it, let's say 16. That works. Here, format data, view data. Oh, sorry, I should have clicked on format data. And we'll go to the views again. Here, we do a center align and total unique counts is done. If you remember, our color should match. Color, sheet, worksheet, and the same green color, right? And I'll edit the title again to make sure it's bold. Okay. And now I can move the total unique counts to my dashboard. I'll close the formatting pane, and now I have total unique counts. I'll fix it here. And I can change the font size for 240 as well. So I'll go to the total unique count sheet. I'll click here. I'll go to format. I'll go to the fields, count product name, alignment is fine. I want to go to the header is fine. Let's go to 15. Oops, I clicked something on it again. Let's go to the fields. Count distinct product name, access pane, font. Let's make it a 15. It's increasing, so we'll just make it a 15 as per the header as well, right? So it works here. We go back to the dashboard and I see something like this. So we can create two more tiles like this. It will be a repetitive format. One thing you must have noticed that I can clean this dashboard. So I'll clean this a bit. We can add a header to it, some icons to it, and make it a bit more beautiful. So I'll do that. One sales team analysis chart hasn't been used up until now. So maybe this is a good time to connect with the lead or managers and tell them that which of these charts actually you want to deprioritize. In many times, we might have 10, 20 different charts, but what are the action items that your client or your team or your managers are looking for is something you should effectively communicate and understand. So do have touch bases with them on a regular basis so that you know what's required at their end and you customize your analysis based on those requirements. As of now, I created one extra chart which I don't feel I should add until I get a clear communication that this is indeed required by the team. So I'll add the two more tiles, some headers, and I'll just skip to the part where I already have something like this built up so that you can get a feel of the data as to how a dashboard is made and how it can look like after putting a couple of hours into it post experience. So I moved to the Tableau workbook, which I have worked on before. Just give me a second. Yeah. And here it is. In this Tableau workbook, you can see I added a beautiful title to the dashboard. I added one of the filters where I can select my sales team. In this dashboard, I have chosen the sales team chart here because I wanted to add this instead of the sub-channel chart. And I combined the channel and sub-channel chart into one chart itself. So in this way, we could include all the 6 charts by combining it into 5 charts, right? So you can be clever around it. In this dashboard, I indeed was clever that I could find a way to do this. But on your end, you can choose any 4 metrics, or you can even remove the tiles and add another graph or visualization that helps you prove a point or helps you gather an insight that is invaluable to your team or to your client. I added a few icons which shows a pharmacy or a hospital. I added some documentation to it, some cart icons to it, and yeah, this is kind of ready to be shipped. But if you do notice, there are some things I missed out on, which my manager will give me a feedback on, like why are the data points not in millions? Why do they have unnecessary commas? Can you please change this? Can you please change the chart type? Can you please add extra data labels? Can you please align the titles on the tiles? So up until now, even on this dashboard on which I spent a couple of hours or 3-4 hours of my time post building everything, I'll still get a ton of feedback. And to be very honest, we should never be afraid of feedback. We should take that, jot it down in a checklist manner, fix it one by one, and you'll see why the feedback stands the way it is. Because if you are making a dashboard, you'll be so much absorbed into it or so much focused into it that you are bound to miss some minor formatting details. So it's always good to have someone check up on you. It's always good to have someone give honest feedback as to what is looking good, what is looking bad, and they can help you improve your visualizations to make sure that they are client ready or your team ready and are ready to deliver an impact. I hope you really like this case study. This data is very straightforward. You don't need to join anything. It's a one CSV file. You can load it, start making views on it, start building your dashboard with the formatting on it, start learning Figma if you're interested, and even try multiple iterations of these dashboards. And once you do that, reach out to someone who can QC it for you. QC here means quality control, quality check. If someone tells you this formatting looks off, again, go back, fix it, and then show it again. If they tell you something's off again, go back, fix it, share it again, and keep doing it until the dashboard reaches a point where you both agree, yeah, this is looking something nice. And then you can ship it ahead to your client or to your team, and then be ready to receive all the accolades you can get. I hope you really like this course. I hope we can continue on this later on, but we now need to make sure that we move on. And if you have any doubts on this, please make sure to reach out to us and ask your doubts. Up until now, it has been a great pleasure. Thank you.
You've just finished our complete Tableau bootcamp. Amazing work. But this is just the beginning. We've got many more tutorials and live sessions lined up to help you grow as a data professional. Tell us what tool or skill you'd like to learn next in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update from Newton School. Keep practicing on Newton School Launchpad. The link is in description. Well done today. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next bootcamp.